Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome to a new video. Before we begin today's chapter, I invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, it would help me a lot if you left a comment with your opinion, as that motivates me to keep bringing you more stories. Now then, get comfortable and I'll leave you with the fanfic. Chapter 1, A Mutual Agreement. Flashback, after the preliminaries. Uzumaki Naruto has been having a bad day. He passed the preliminaries of the Chunin exams and went to the hospital to see if he could get Kakashi-sensei to train him. He refused, saying he had to train Uchiha Sasuke, Naruto's teammate on Team 7, but he did get Naruto a teacher. Unfortunately, it was the closet pervert Ebisu. Ebisu is a Tokubetsu Jonin Naruto met after his first encounter with Sarutobi Kinomaru, the Sandaime Hokage's grandson, when he was knocked out after an encounter with Naruto's Haramuno Jutsu, Harem Jutsu. He is a snooty and arrogant man dressed in the standard blue of a Jonin, wearing round sunglasses, and his Hittite forehead protector, worn as a bandana. He also is one who sees Naruto as the fox brat. Naruto was furious and immediately refused his help. Ebisu, playing on Naruto's ego and negative feelings toward him, challenges Naruto. If Naruto was able to escape from him, he would resign as his teacher and convince Kakashi to train him. Taking the bait, Naruto accepts and quickly flees. After a village-wide chase involving multiple uses of the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu Shadow Clone Jutsu and a lot of frustration for Naruto, he finally gives in and accepts Ebisu as his teacher. After lunch at Ichiraku Ramen, a lecture on chakra control, and one empty wallet belonging to Ebisu later, the duo moves to the hot springs to practice water walking. Shortly after starting to practice, Naruto discovered a man peeping on the women's side of the hot spring. Ebisu, seeing this, demands he cease his actions and tries to attack him, ending with him knocked out at the hands of the man and a large toad. After his hermit dance and crazy introduction, the super pervert, now identified as Jiraiya the Gamma Sennin Toad Sage, decides to take Naruto under his wing. We now find Naruto with Jiraiya at a waterfall near the outskirts of Konoha, trying to get the water walking exercise down. End flashback. Kyuso, why can't I do this? An orange-clad Naruto shouts in frustration after yet another failed attempt at water walking, ending with him drenched. Grumbling at his failure, Naruto discards his jumpsuit, leaving him clad in a pair of green boxers patterned with little ramen bowls patterned. What am I doing wrong? I'm channeling my chakra in a steady amount to my feet. Why won't it work already? Frustrated beyond belief, Naruto decides to ask for help. No, Ero-senin, do you have any idea what I'm doing wrong? Rapidly turning around with an angry look, damn Gaki, I told you not to call me the. Trailing off with a confused look, Jiraiya is looking intently at Naruto's seal with its new addition. Why is there a Gogyo Fuin, 5-element seal, over Naruto's hack no Fuin Shiki, 8-trigram seal? No wonder he's having difficulties. An odd-numbered seal over an even-numbered seal would screw up anyone's chakra control. Walking over to Naruto, who now has a rather exasperated look on his face, Jiraiya asks, Gaki, why is there a Gogyo Fuin over your seal? Hey, what? Oh, is that what that damn snake pedo Orochimaru did after he jabbed me in the stomach? He attacked us during the second stage in the Forest of Death. Orochi team, I should have known. I knew he placed his Ten no Juin Curse Seal of Heaven on the Uchiha because Sarutobi-sensei asked me to look at the Fuja Hoin, evil sealing method Kakashi placed to contain it. However, he didn't tell me that Naruto had a seal as well. Why didn't he say anything? Naruto, didn't you tell anyone you had that seal placed on you? With a rather sheepish look on his face, Naruto said, Hey, I forgot to. After jumping up from face faulting onto the ground, Jiraiya slapped Naruto on the back of the head and exclaimed, You dumb Gaki, how could you forget to say anything? Didn't you notice how your chakra control was shot after that? What do you mean my chakra control was shot? I thought it just got rid of Kyuubi's chakra, which I was using at the time. Is this why I can't do the water walking? Can you get rid of it? With a flabbergasted look on his face, Jiraiya asked, Did you say Kyuubi's chakra? You can wield it? Since when? Yeah, I can, ever since I went on the mission to Wave Country. Kakashi-sensei told me what happened afterward because my memory is kind of fuzzy from there. He also told me how I went berserk. So, I started training myself in using it, so I didn't go crazy every time I drew on it after we got back to the village. I didn't get very far though. I could only use so much before it got real hazy, and I started losing myself to bloodlust. He had a fearful look on his face now. I didn't want that to happen when I was in the village. I'm treated bad enough by the village already. Between the civilian council making my life hell by allowing the vendors to throw me out of their shops and overcharge me for rotten food and poor quality equipment, my apartment constantly being broken into and my things broken, as well as the threatening messages like "Die Demon" painted on my walls, and the glares and curses I get from the villagers, things are bad enough. I'm just lucky the mobs that beat me half to death stopped after I became a ninja. I was tired of getting poison in my IVs at the hospital. This changes everything. I had planned on only giving him some basic training in drawing on the QB and letting him sign the Toad contract. However, if he is already using its chakra, I'm going to have to move up my plans for him, especially since I've heard from my spy network that the Akatsuki are becoming more active. It took a moment for the rest of Naruto's statement to register, but when it did, he was furious. A massive killer intent spread all across the clearing. Mentally raving in his head with a murderous look on his face. Those blasted villagers. How dare they do this to my godson? Sarutobi-sensei lied to me. He said Naruto was doing fine. What the hell was he saying? This is not fine at all. This is terrible. Completely ignoring Naruto's nervous look at feeling the killer intent, he starts pacing back and forth furiously. Damn them. Why would they do this? Naruto is a hero. Every day, he protects the village by being the jailer of Kyubi. Those ignorant bastards are blinded by their hatred of the beast, and they take it out on Naruto just for being the container. I bet they don't even see Naruto as a human. They probably only see the Kyubi. Killer intent rising by the second, he walks over to the nearest tree and throws Rasengan after Rasengan at it in a rage. Turning to Naruto with murder still burning in his eyes, he instantly freezes when he notices Naruto is curled up on the ground in a fetal position, fearfully staring out at nothing with tears welling in his eyes. Flashbacks of the beatings he suffered running through his mind, triggered by the large amount of killer intent Jiraiya was exuding. Those eyes. Such eyes full of pain and fear. No child should have such eyes. What did they do to you, Naruto? I'm so sorry I wasn't there. I'm so sorry, Minato, Kushina. I failed your son. Face now taking on a determined look, Jiraiya comes to a decision. This stops now. Screw the council and their decision. I'm taking Naruto as my apprentice and leaving with him after the exams. I'm one of the Densetsu no Sannin, legendary 3 ninja. I can do it and they can't stop me. I'm going to make him so strong for the finals and show them all the mistakes they made. I'm going to have to talk to Sarutobi-sensei after we are done here. Taking deep breaths to calm himself, his face takes on the softest and most caring expression he can muster. He slowly walks over to Naruto, so as not to scare him any more than he already is. Kneeling and gently encircling Naruto in his arms, he can feel how Naruto goes completely rigid. It's okay, Naruto. I'm so sorry about that. When you told me what happened, I forgot myself for a moment there. Please calm down. I won't hurt you. I won't let anyone else hurt you anymore either. I will protect you from them. That is a promise. Just let it all out. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. Naruto tentatively returns Jiraiya's hug, and when nothing else happens, he buries his face in Jiraiya's chest and cries. Sadness flowing out of him in waves, he weeps for his life and for all the pain, suffering, loneliness, and solitude. Gripping Jiraiya like he is his very link to life, Naruto reveals his pain to the world. The mask of happiness that he wore all his life is shattered. All the agony that he feels deep in his very soul, he cries out to the heavens in his anguish. 2 hours later. Eventually, Naruto runs out of energy and falls asleep in Jiraiya's arms. Picking him up bridal style with tears running down his own face and feeling pain in his heart, Jiraiya leaps away to take Naruto home so he can go and think for a bit. After arriving back at the village, he decides to walk in order to get a feel of the villagers on his way to Naruto's apartment. While walking through the village, he can see the glares directed at Naruto and the muttering and pointing at Jiraiya. Channeling some chakra to his ears in order to hear what the villagers are saying, He is immediately disgusted by some of the things he hears. That's Jiraiya-sama. What is he doing with the demon brat in his arms? The brat's eyes are closed. Do you think he's dead? Good riddance if he is. Yandame-sama was Jiraiya-sama's student. Maybe he is going to finish his student's job and get rid of the demon. Starting to glare at the villagers, the whispers take a more furious pace. Why is Jiraiya-sama glaring at us? He should be happy the demon is hurt. I bet the blasted demon is corrupting the great Jiraiya-sama like he did with Hokage-sama. He should get rid of the brat before its taint spreads to him. Shaking slightly in his anger, he decides to take to the rooftops. If he stayed any longer, he might do something that would either put himself or Naruto in danger. Channeling chakra through his legs to move fast, he makes a beeline to Naruto's apartment. Entering the slums near the outskirts of the village, he comes upon Naruto's apartment. However, upon arriving, he notices it completely trashed with threatening messages spread all over the walls. His anger rises the more he looks at it. Unconsciously, he starts leaking a small amount of killer intent, causing Naruto to whimper in his sleep. Immediately realizing what was happening, he pushes his anger away and grips Naruto a little tight in his embrace. This is what he goes through every day? How can you still be sane, Naruto? There is no way he will be safe here. But I can't take him with me to see Sarutobi-sensei because of all that will be discussed. I would not dare leave Naruto alone at my hotel either. From those whispers, I bet rumors would be spread all over the village in minutes. He might get attacked if I leave him in my hotel room. Where can I take him? He thought on the issue for several minutes before coming to a solution. Using the Shunshin no Jutsu body flicker technique, he leaves in a cloud of smoke to his hotel. Placing him on the bed, he puts him in a Jinjutsu for a dreamless sleep. After this, he goes into the living room. He channels a large amount of chakra and performs the hand signs for the Kuchios no Jutsu, summoning Jutsu, and summons Shima, one of the elder toad sages of Mount Myaboku. When the smoke clears, a small yellow and purple toad with curly purple hair holding a rolling pin appears. Jiraiya-chan, what are you doing summoning me here? I was right in the middle of making dinner. Bowing deeply at the waist, Jiraiya says in a pleading voice, I'm sorry, Shima-sama, but I have a very important request to make of you. Will you please listen? Hopping onto the coffee table, Shima says, This sounds serious, Jiraiya-chan. Is something wrong? Sitting on the floor so Shima can look Jiraiya in the eye, he says with utmost seriousness, It's about my godson Naruto. Things have gone horribly wrong. Over the next hour, he then proceeds to tell Shima all that has happened today with Naruto, all that Naruto told him, what he plans to do with Naruto, his trip in the village, and the whispers and rumors he suspected were flying around. And that is all that's happened. Please take Naruto with you back to Mount Myaboku while I go and get Naruto's situation sorted. I don't trust the villagers to not try something when he is weak like this. I put him in a sleeping jutsu, and I want him to stay that way for now. He revealed a lot of pain today, and it left him exhausted. Throughout Jiraiya's tale, Shima's face reflected first surprise, then anger, and finally sadness and determination. Nodding her head in agreement with Jiraiya's reasons, the poor child has seen so much suffering at such a young age. I agree with you about the villagers. Your reasons are valid, and even though he has not signed the Toad contract, you plan on having him do it, so it won't be too much of a problem to take him back with me. I will do it. Prostrating himself in front of her, he repeatedly bows in gratitude. Thank you, Shima-sama. I won't be long. I'll come back for him tomorrow. Don't bow to me like that, Jiraiya-chan. It's all right. Now let's go see the boy. Hopping onto his shoulder, Shima and Jiraiya both head back to the bedroom. Seeing him sleeping so peacefully, Shima remarks, He looks so peaceful. It's hard to believe all that he has suffered. Sighing, she hops off Jiraiya's shoulder and onto the bed. Get this sorted, Jiraiya-chan. I don't want to know what Pa and Bunta will do if you don't. They loved Minato, and to hear how his son was treated will infuriate them. Touching Naruto's shoulder, Shima and Naruto disappear in a puff of smoke. After leaving, Jiraiya sits on the bed and sighs. To think all of this has happened. I never would have guessed things got this bad. I better go talk to Sarutobi-sensei. 15 minutes later, Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Purifessa professor, The shinobi no kami god of shinobi, the Sandaime Hokage, had a bad feeling in the pits of his stomach. Things just seemed to be going wrong for him lately, and he felt that things were only going to get worse. Pushing back from his desk full of a mountain of unfinished paperwork, he groaned as he stood up with his old joints popping. Walking out on the balcony and looking over his village, his gaze eventually fell towards the Hokage monument, more specifically, the Yondaime's head. Staring for a few minutes, he sighed in sadness. I wish you were still here, my friend, sitting in this office and wearing this hat instead of me. I'm getting old, my friend. When I was reinstated after your sacrifice, I never expected things to go so badly. This village is being corrupted. The village council is taking more and more power away from me. Their greed and hatred are ruling them. Your son is not treated as the hero he is. The shinobi side is mostly on his side, but the civilian side is always making trouble. At every meeting with the council, they try to make Naruto's life miserable. Thinking back on the last council meeting, things were even worse than usual. Flashback, council meeting. Hokage-sama, the demon brat is growing too powerful. He passed the preliminaries and is moving on to the finals against Hyuga. He is showing power that he should not have. The demon is influencing him. One of the civilian council members shouted. There is no way the brat should be that strong. The demon is definitely taking over. We need to stop it before it grows too powerful and destroys the village. It's even corrupting his classmates with its demonic powers. Why else would the honorable clan heirs and heiresses be with him? It should be banished, Hokage-sama. We must be rid of its taint on the village. No, he should be executed. Drop him from the ninja program. Banishment. This went on for hours. The shinobi side could not even get in a word. The elders and Danzo were pushing for Naruto to be made a weapon to be controlled. With a growing headache, the Hokage slammed his fist on the table, releases a large amount of killing intent at the civilian council, and shouts enough. Naruto is a human boy, not a demon. There will be no killing, banishing, or dropping him from the ninja program. He is growing strong because he trains day and night, not because of his burden influencing him. Ubakas. The crippled, old war hawk Danzo at this point smirked and remarked, and what do you have to say about the boy's training in controlling the demon's power, Hiruzen? Were you going to tell us about that? Hiruzen inwardly cursed Danzo's knowledge about that because he knew he was going to try to use that to his advantage. The civilian side started muttering at that. However, before things could get out of hand again, Danzo raised his hand to halt the tirade. I'm sure you all think this is a bad thing, and it can be. But right now it is not. If we can get him under control, he would become Konoha's greatest weapon. Our nation's superiority would be cemented with the Kyuubi's power at our side. Our village would get all the mission requests, thus bringing in more money. Minor countries wouldn't dare go against us and scramble over each other to gain our favor, which will open up trade routes and more for merchants and other wealth to make its way to the village. Appealing to the greed of the council, the civilians started nodding in agreement, and pretty soon they were shouting how he should be given to Danzo as a weapon. End flashback. After the shouting died down, it was eventually put to a vote. However, both sides were completely tied. The civilians all voted yes, as well as Danzo. The two elders, who only had one vote, and it had to be unanimous or they did not count, voted yes. The shinobi all voted no, with the Hokage using his right of 2 votes for no, thus deadlocking the issue and causing it to be discarded. Walking back into the office to stare at the portraits of the previous Hokages, his eyes fell on the Yondaime. I can't protect him for much longer, old friend. Today was the closest they ever got to ruining Naruto's life forever. Eventually, one of the shinobi will side with the civilians, and Naruto's fate will be sealed. His musing was interrupted by the arrival of Jiraiya coming in the window. Sensei, we have to talk. If he was surprised due to the icy tone of Jiraiya's voice, he was very surprised to notice how serious Jiraiya looked right now. Waving Jiraiya into his office, he sat down at his desk with his elbows resting on the top with his hands clasped in front of his face. Is something wrong, Jiraiya-kun? What has happened? Sitting down across from the Sandaime, Jiraiya says, It's Naruto. That bad feeling growing, he sends out the ENBU in his office and activates the privacy seals. He then asks in a worried voice, "What has happened? Is Naruto-kun okay? Did he get hurt?" Face contorting in anger, he spat out, "No, he's not okay. He's almost as far from okay as you can get." Very concerned now, the Sandaime asks, "What do you mean?" Jiraiya then proceeds to tell him everything about the events of today, starting from when he met Naruto to having him taken to Mount Myaboku. All matter of emotions fly across the Sandaime's face as the story goes on and finally settles on deep sadness and weary resignation. "Don't you see, Sensei? Things are horrible. If I don't do something, things will only get worse." Sighing deeply, "I'm afraid things are much worse than you know, Jiraiya." Now it's the Sandaime's turn to tell what happened during the council meeting he had, with Jiraiya's anger rising as the story progressed, until finally he exploded. Killer intent higher than the Sandaime had felt in years exploded from Jiraiya and washed over the village, causing concern among the shinobi and civilians to panic when the angry voice of the Gamma Sennin rang out. "How dare they do that? That damn council. And Danzo, when I get my hands on him, I'll dash." The voice cut off abruptly when the Sandaime activated the silencing seals in his office. Inside the office, however, the ranting went on, getting more and more graphic in describing how Jiraiya was going to murder the council. Eventually, his anger ran out and gave way once more to sadness, and he collapsed in the chair. "Jiraiya-kun, as much as I might agree with you, there is nothing I can do. The council has gained too much power." Both men lapse into silence, thinking on how they can try to fix this. Eventually, Jiraiya came up with an idea. "I can take Naruto as my apprentice." "What will that do, Jiraiya? I thought you already planned on doing that." "That's not what I was talking about, Sensei. I mean, I will take Naruto as my full-time apprentice and name him as my successor. Doing so will make me his guardian, grant him some privileges like the Sannin traveling rights that will allow him to come and go as he pleases with no repercussions, and provide him political protection when it is publicly announced. Plus, the council can't stop it because of my rights as a Sannin. A Sannin answers only to the Hokage, not the greedy bastards on the council." The Sandaime thought it over thoroughly, lighting up his pipe while weighing the pros and cons of the decision, before finally agreeing. "It seems like that is our only choice. However, do you understand the repercussions this will have? Publicly acknowledging this will make Naruto many enemies both in and out of the village. The council is going to be furious. They will try anything to stop Naruto from leaving. They might even go after those he cares about." Jiraiya was nodding throughout this, then said, "I will talk with Naruto later, find out who it is that he cares for, and then find a way to discreetly warn them. They will not be caught in the crossfire of this without knowing what could happen." "That is a good idea, Jiraiya. However, there is one thing wrong here. Naruto-kun's classmates do not know about his tenet. You can be sure those who go after them will try to use that to their advantage." "I thought of that and I have an idea, but you aren't going to like it. We may not have a choice." "What are you thinking?" "I want you to remove the law that prevents the older generation from talking about Naruto's burden." The Sandaime almost dropped his pipe in shock. "Jiraiya, are you insane? That is the only thing allowing Naruto a peaceful life in the village. If I do this, the older generation will poison the younger with lies and turn the rest of the village against him." "I know that, but I have a plan to help prevent some of that. Besides, Naruto does not have a peaceful life in the village anyway. I'll bet I haven't heard even half of what has happened with Naruto growing up, and what I have makes me want to beat the villagers to a pulp." Wearily, the Sandaime says, "You're right. I've tried my best over the years to help him, but I'm blocked at every turn. What is your plan?" "I won't be able to prevent everybody from hating him, but I can at least try to save his friends. I know there is another Jinchuriki in the finals. I want you to talk to Naruto's classmate Senseis under the guise of advice about Jinchuriki due to one being in the finals. You will hint to them that something big is going down soon and that Naruto's burden will soon become public knowledge. You will talk about how they are treated, what their life is like, the beatings, the glares, prejudice, hatred, the power they can wield, enough to paint a picture about how a Jinchuriki is only a container, not what they contain. You will then instruct them to repeat what you have said to their students. This gives them a valid reason to talk about Jinchuriki if confronted about it, because the council was warned about Gaara being one of the containers. Therefore, they will have to accept the reason even if they don't believe it. Realization dawned. So when Naruto being a Jinchuriki is public knowledge, they will already have a clear opinion free of lies on the subject. Plus, knowing what Naruto's life was like due to his burden will prevent them from being swayed by the lies they might be told, because the trust in the older generation will be shaken when the children realize what Naruto had to go through because of them, causing them to not believe the lies and side with Naruto. In turn, this will keep Naruto happy because he knows at least part of the village accepts him for his burden. Both men grinning now. Jiraiya-kun, that's brilliant. That would work very well. You know me, sensei, always getting out of tight spots. What are you going to do in the meantime? I'm going to train Naruto. I'm going to teach him as much as I can in the month period, so that when the finals come around the village will be blown away. I also plan to take him away from the village after the finals are over and he is promoted. That reminds me, I need Naruto's inheritance because I plan to inform Naruto about his mother during the break and then his father after we leave. Keeping him in the dark when he was desperate for one bright spot in his life was the wrong thing to do. Nodding in agreement, the Sandame stands up and walks over to the Yandame's portrait. Pulling it away from the wall, he reveals a seal. Biting his thumb and swiping it over the seal, it glows slightly and fades away, revealing a safe hidden in the wall. Motioning Jiraiya over, who bites his thumb and swipes it over the safe, causing it to unlock and open, revealing two large scrolls, one wrapped in a red ribbon with the Uzumaki clan symbol on it, and the other wrapped in a yellow ribbon with the Namikaze clan symbol. The Sandame takes them and gives them to Jiraiya with some parting words. Keep him safe, Jiraiya-kun. I care about that boy like he was my own grandson. Help him find his will of fire. Also, ask him to forgive an old man for his mistakes. Accepting them, Jiraiya replies, I will, sensei, and don't worry. He will forgive you. You are his Gigi after all. Watching Jiraiya leap out the window, Sarutobi sighs. I hope he does, Jiraiya. But after he finds out all that I've hidden from him, he may never forgive me. Chapter 2. Truth and Lies. The next day, at the waterfall. Kuchiyos no Jutsu, summoning Jutsu. A puff of smoke appeared, and a small messenger toad appeared in front of Jiraiya. Please tell Shima-sama to return Naruto, please. The toad nodded and disappeared in a puff of smoke. First things first, I'm going to have to talk to Naruto. Explain to him what is happening and what I'm planning. Hopefully he will go along with it. Another puff of smoke signaled the arrival of Shima with Naruto. Hello, Jiraiya-chan, was heard as the smoke cleared. Bowing in respect, Jiraiya addressed the elder toad sage. Hello, Shima-sama. Was there any trouble with Naruto back at the mountain? Shima sighs and says sadly, not much, but let's just say the toads are not very happy with Konoha right now. Resting Naruto against a nearby rock, Jiraiya responds, yes, I figured they would not be. What happened? Yes, well, you see. Flashback. Yesterday, Mount Myoboku. A puff of smoke signaled the arrival of Elder Shima and Naruto to Myobokuzen, the home of the Toad clan. Appearing in the bedroom of the small cottage home, Shima laid Naruto down on the bed and tucked him in. Entering the room shortly after was a small green toad with balding gray hair visible on the top and large gray eyebrows extending around his face to the sides of his head. This toad was Fukasaku, husband of Shima and the other elder toad sage. Hey Ma, who is this? When you were summoned earlier, we had no idea what was happening. Some of the toads were getting worried. Ah, Pa, don't startle me like that, you old goat. This is young Naruto, Uzumaki. I brought him here as a favor for Jiraiya. Fukasaku's eyebrows shot straight up when he heard the name. Surprised, he asks, Minato's tadpole? Why did Jiraiya have him brought here? I can sense he has not signed the toad contract. You know that anyone who hasn't should not be here. I know, Pa, I know. I can assure you Jiraiya had valid reasons for him being here. Things have gone very bad for Naruto and Konoha. Please assemble the clan in 30 minutes because they all need to hear this. It could affect our future partnership with Konoha. A bewildered look crossed Fukusaku's face as he nodded and then left, no doubt wondering what could possibly happen to cause this. As he left, Shima's face crumpled in sadness as he stared at the child sleeping peacefully. With tears running down her face, she caressed his face and said in a soothing tone, "Don't worry, young tadpole. You are safe here." 30 minutes later, the toads gathered in the clearing are confused. A little while ago, they were all asked to assemble here to discuss something that could affect their relationship with Konoha. In the front group were three very large toads. A red toad with a scar over his left eye wearing a blue jacket and Tonto with a pipe in his mouth. A purple toad dressed in a battle kimono and mesh wielding a Sakazuki-like shield and Susumida, and an aquamarine toad wearing an orange sash around his stomach and wielding two huge katanas. These toads were Gamabunta, Gamakin, and Gamahiro. The one with the katanas asked, "Elders, what is going on? Why have you assembled us?" "Patience, hero. Ma will explain what's happening in a minute." The purple toad then said, "I may be ungraceful, but may I assume that this has to do with the young tadpole currently sleeping in your cottage, Elder Shima?" The rest of those gathered were now listening to the conversation with interest. Nodding, "You would be correct, Gamakin. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is that Minato's son, the Jinchuriki?" "Yes, Bunta it is." Turning to address everyone, Shima then starts to speak. "Everyone listen to me. Something terrible has happened in Konoha. You all remember young Minato, Jiraiya-chan's first apprentice. You all know how he died facing the Kyubi no Kitsune 13 years ago by sealing it into his child. His last wish was that his son be treated as a hero. Thanks to Jiraiya, who encountered young Naruto, he learned the truth, and what a terrible, tragic truth it was." Flashback end. "I told them all that you told me, and needless to say they were furious. We had to use Gamahiro and Gamakin to restrain Bunta from going to the portal to this world and attacking the village in a rage. He loved Minato like he was his own tadpole. To hear how his only son and heir was treated here caused him to fly into a rage. He's now drinking himself into a stupor to drown his sorrow away and refuses to be summoned until this is fixed. The rest of the clan is of similar attitudes. I'd recommend not summoning them unless it is an absolute emergency." Jiraiya sighed in dejection. "I understand, Shima-sama. I will respect their wishes." "It's probably for the best, Jiraiya-chan. Did you discuss what will happen with young Naruto with your sensei?" Looking determined now, "Yes, we did. We've got a plan to help protect him from now on and give him some happiness in his life." Jiraiya then informed Shima of what he and the Hokage planned. His taking Naruto as his full-time apprentice and guardian, his plan to have the Hokage talk to the sensei of Naruto's classmates who will then talk to their students, his plan for training for the finals, his inheritance, and then leaving after the exams are done. Nodding in agreement while chuckling, "You could always get out of the stickiest situations, Jiraiya-chan. It's brilliant." Smugly, "It's not too bad if I say so myself. Thank you for taking care of Naruto, Shima-sama. I am in your debt." "Think nothing of it, Jiraiya-chan." Gianni. A puff of smoke and Shima was gone. "I suppose I better wake him up and get started." Kneeling in front of him, he taps Naruto's forehead and mutters, "Release." Naruto starts stirring and opens his eyes, a dead look in them. Upon seeing Jiraiya, he groggily Naruto asks, "Ero Sennin, was yesterday a dream? Did all that happen?" Kneeling down to look Naruto in the eye, "No, it wasn't a dream, and yes, all of that happened." Looking cautiously hopeful, "And what you said, did you mean it?" Giving Naruto the most solemn and serious look he could muster, "Yes, Naruto, it is all true." Light returns to Naruto's eyes, and giving Jiraiya a smile, not the fake one to mask his pain, but a true, genuine smile that brightens the room. "So what is going to happen to me now? Are we still training?" "Yes, we are, but first let me tell you what happened after you fell asleep. Then we can get started." Mood rising by the minute as Jiraiya gives a recap of all that has happened and what he plans to do. Naruto is overjoyed by the end of it all. Already knowing the answer, but needing to get all the formalities out of the way. "So, Naruto, will you accept?" Jumping to his feet and bowing deeply at the waist, Naruto says with utmost respect and adoration in his voice, "I have only known you for one day, and already you have done more for me than anybody ever has in my life. I am honored by your decision to train me as your successor, and I humbly accept. Thank you so much, Jiraiya-sama." clapping his hands together and returning the bow. No, Naruto, the honor is mine. I look forward to teaching you to the best of my abilities. Both standing up now, Jiraiya starts cracking his knuckles and says, "All right, Naruto, it's time to get started. I plan on training you into the ground every day until the finals. We need you to get as strong as possible, as fast as possible. I've got a training schedule in mind for you. However, it will be grueling. Expect to go to sleep every night with chakra exhaustion because that is how hard I'm going to work you. There is no turning back now because certain events have been set in motion that will require you to be strong enough. Yash, I am ready to get this done. Let's do it." Suddenly remembering the Gojo Fuin, Jiraiya halts Naruto's celebrating. "Wait, Naruto, I almost forgot about the seal Orochimaru gave you. Come here and lift up your shirt so I can remove it." Naruto does as told and raises his shirt. Fingertips glowing blue, Jiraiya slams his hand into Naruto's stomach with a cry of Gojo, Fuin Kai. 5 elements seal release, and then it all goes dark. Chapter 3, Meeting the Fox. Drip, drip, drip. Naruto wakes up in what appears to be a sewer. A dark labyrinth filled with ankle-deep water and pipes with some glowing red and others blue. What happened? Did Ero Sennin knock me out or something when he removed the seal? Where the heck am I? Hearing a groaning near him, he looks over and sees Jiraiya waking up and looking around much like Naruto did. Now certain this isn't a dream because he's here. Naruto asks, "Hey Ero Sennin, what happened? Where are we?" "I'm not sure, Naruto. 1 second I'm removing that seal, and the next we are here." A crimson glow lights up one of the tunnels when a deep voice, full of immense power, rang out. "We are in your mindscape, Kit. I brought you both here. Now come, we must speak." The sheer aura exuded demanded respect. Naruto and Jiraiya both had an idea of what was happening. Tentatively, Naruto asks, "Any Ero Sennin? Is that what I think it is?" "It is. That is the voice of Kyuubi. We must be inside of your seal, Naruto." A deep chuckling rang out inside the chamber, and the light grows stronger. "Yes, human, you are correct. Now bring yourself and my jailer into the sealing chamber. I demand your presence here. There is much we must discuss." "This is going to be interesting. I didn't know I could talk to him. That's pretty cool." Shrugging, Naruto makes his way down the tunnel to the chamber with Jiraiya following. Eventually, they come into an open room with a massive set of wrought iron gates locked together by a paper with the kanji for seal imprinted on it. Coming near the gates, the massive sight of the great fox with 9 tails looming over Naruto and Jiraiya. The amount of power they could feel emanating from the great kitsune was massive. They could not help but be a little nervous. "Welcome humans to my chamber. As you may have guessed, I am the greatest of the Biju, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, head of the Kitsune clan. And you, young one, are my jailer." Naruto decided to show respect to the great beast and bowed. "Yes, Kyuubi, I am your jailer. My name is Naruto Uzumaki." Deciding to forego his hermit dance so as not to piss off the giant demon in front of him, Jiraiya settled for a simple bow. "Kyuubi, my name is Jiraiya. I am the Toad Sage and one of the Densetsu no Sannin. I am the one who taught your sealer, the Yondaime Hokage. I am wondering why I'm here though. Naruto, I can understand seeing as he is your jailer, but why bring me here?" "To thank you." Utterly flabbergasted that the most powerful being on the planet was thanking him, all he could ask was, "Why? What did I do?" "I've been affected by the remnants of a Mangekyo Jinjutsu during my time as the Kit's jailer. The Jinjutsu was disrupted when another seal was placed over the seal here. However, before I could regain my senses, I got completely sealed away by the one who reeks of snakes. You, when you released that seal, also managed to break the hold the Mangekyo held over me. For the first time in 13 years, I am myself again, and for that I thank you." During this time, Naruto is pondering something from Kyuubi's explanation. "You've been under a Jinjutsu for 13 years. Does that mean you were being controlled when you attacked Konoha?" "Your suspicions are correct, Kit. Yes, I was controlled against my will when I attacked your village. I may be a greater demon full of anger, but I am the guardian of the land of fire as appointed by my creator, not its destroyer." "So that means you never meant to attack the village. All of those people in my village hate you because you attacked, but you were forced to do it and you're innocent. Why would nobody realize this? Greatly surprised, his jailer does not seem to hold a grudge, but not showing it, Kyubi shrugs and answers. Humans are ignorant in things they don't understand. Their intelligence is blinded by fear and hatred of me. Unfortunately, from what I've seen from your memories, they find an out for it all by targeting you, and for that I'm sorry. Wait a sec. How did you gain access to my memories? You only just met me. Jiraiya is also interested in this, and turns for an answer. Did you not think drawing on my power would not have side effects? Every time you drew on my power, some of the haze from the Jinjutsu faded, showing me your memories. I've seen all you've experienced in your life, from the lowest of the low, when you were beaten half to death, all the way up to your feelings for the dark-haired ice woman that you tried to hide from her. Jiraiya, unfortunately, chose now to let his super pervert attitude into the light. With a rather lecherous grin on his face. Now, Gaki, what is this I hear? You have a girlfriend? Giggle, giggle, giggle. Turning red and stammering slightly. It's not like that, you big perv. I may like her, but there was no way we could be together. Our paths went different ways. Besides, Haku is none of your business. Enough of your bickering. We have much to decide. So I'll cut straight to the point. I want to make a deal with the kit. Okay, that does not sound too bad. What kind of deal, Kyubi? It involves the seal keeping me imprisoned here. I want Dash. Please forgive the interruption, Kyubi, but we can't free you. It would kill Dash. Silence. I am aware of the cost of my freedom from this place, and don't you dare think I would try to free myself if it would harm the kit. Our souls are linked by the seal through Shinigami-sama. If the kit were to die, I would as well. I have no intention of that. Do not interrupt me again. I may be jailed, but I am a Biju, and I deserve respect. Jiraiya, sweating profusely in his nervousness, bows. Of course, Kyubi-sama. Please forgive my disrespect. Naruto, having enough of the waiting. Hey, I thought we were discussing a deal with me and the Kyubi, so let's get back to business, shall we? I've got training to get done, and I can't spend all my time here. My jailer is correct. Now, as I was saying before I was interrupted, I want to make a deal that involves the seal that binds you to me. First things first, I want access to your senses, as well as a mental link between you and me, so we may communicate outside of the mindscape. In return, I will fix your body. Slightly concerned, Naruto asks, what do you mean, fix my body? What is wrong with it? Your growth has been stunted due to malnourishment and the seal's interference that happened while isolating me from you. What should have happened was my chakra would be leaked out at a small, but steady, rate as you grew, but it never did. Why, I don't know, but it is not important as it can be fixed. Back to my chakra tough, it would strengthen you bones and muscles, making them much stronger than they are and much harder to tear or break. Your height is one thing, unfortunately, not caused by me, but rather eating only ramen for meals. Your nutrition should be balanced out, but it is not, which is why you are small in stature compared to the rest of the generation your age. You have two choices here. You can fix it yourself by eating more meals, and you will gradually gain your correct stature, or I can use my chakra to enhance it to get it done quickly. There will be some small repercussions if you take this option, but it is not that big of a change. Put simply, you are a 13-year-old stuck in a 9-year-old body. I will alter your body to reflect your correct age and appearance if you weren't malnourished and the seal worked correctly. Contemplating his options, Naruto says, Ero-sennin says we don't have much time. But I need to know what would happen if I took the second option. I'm not going to grow any tails or fox ears, will I? Nothing that drastic, no? These changes will be small. Your eyes will become slanted slightly, and your pupils will turn to slits somewhat while your blue will remain. It will become deeper. Your face will become slightly more vulpine. Your canines will become small fangs, and finally your whisker marks will darken slightly. Overall, you will gain a few fox-like features that will make you look similar to the ones you call Inuzukas. These aren't just cosmetic changes, though. Your senses will be enhanced greatly. Your eyesight will be superior and will be granted night vision. Your nose will be able to smell the enemy from a mile away. Your hearing will be sharper as well, being able to discern sounds that would normally require chakra being channeled to your ears. I think it sounds okay. I could handle that. What do you think, Ero-sennin? Jiraiya's face takes on a contemplating look. The changes are small, but still noticeable. But it's my fault anyway that he is like this because I tightened the seal after Naruto's birth to cut him completely from the chakra. This might cause even more trouble with the villagers. But we do need to get this done quick. We are leaving this soon anyway, so it should not be too much of a problem. He might as well. I think you should take the deal, Naruto. Nodding. Okay, Kyubi. I accept the deal. Is there anything else? Giving a fox-like grin. There is something else. I know of the pervert's plan to train you. I will be doing so as well. I will not tolerate a weak container. You should know being my jailer grants you powers that until now have been locked away. However, I will not simply give them to you. No, I want something in return. Naruto looks ecstatic at the prospect of special powers. However, Jiraiya looks wary. Wanting more information, he asks, "What are the powers, and what do you want in return?" Looking towards Jiraiya, the fox responds, "You are suspicious of me. That is good. I am a fox, and we are cunning that way. However, I will enlighten you. The Kit, being my jailer, grants him two abilities. The ability to control Kitsune Bai, or Foxfire, and allowing him to perform Kitsune illusions. These abilities are unique to my clan. The first will allow you to control our fire. It is blue in color and much stronger than normal fire. This will be useful to you because of your primary affinity, which is wind. Your second affinity for fire, which comes from me, will be enhanced to allow the use of Foxfire. Kitsune illusions are a super-powered form of Jinjutsu. Most of my clan is unable to use normal Jinjutsu, and that defect was passed to you upon my sealing. Kitsune illusions are illusions that affect the reality around the user. Use Solid Henge, transformation, is one of the most basic abilities. Completely surprised by this information, Naruto asks, "Wait, my henge is not supposed to be solid. I thought it was." Sighing again at his godson's stupidity. No, Naruto, the henge is an E-rank Jinjutsu that only puts an illusion around the user to make it appear that the caster has changed. If it is touched, it would waver or dissipate because it has no substance. To be able to pull off a solid transformation is a huge boon for infiltration missions. We will have to work on it later. Turning back towards Kyubi, Jiraiya asks, "You said you wanted something in return for these abilities. What is it you want?" "I have a way to grant me temporary freedom from this blasted seal. It will be controlled by the Kit, and I will not be able to come and go as I please. But it is enough to get me out of the damnable sewer, and I would like to see the outside world again." Once again flabbergasted because he thought the seal prevented the Kyubi's escape, he asks, "How?" "A special summoning contract between the Kit and myself. It would make myself Kit's familiar or personal summon, while not interfering with any other normal summoning contract he would sign. He can summon me for battle or for training. There are many possibilities here, but I cannot train these abilities in the mindscape, so in order to train you in them, this must be done." Naruto is beaming now and says, "So I could let you out of here and breathe the outside world again. That is awesome. It did not seem right that you were forced to be sealed for something that wasn't your fault. So long as you promise not to attack the village if I summon you, I don't see a problem. This is great." Jiraiya was worried but resigned. "I have a feeling it's not that simple, Naruto. But there are simply too many benefits for this to ignore. We will take care of the contract later. Right now, I am going to fix your body. There will be a large spike in my chakra that will likely be sensed in your village. This is unavoidable, but it can serve as an intimidation for those foolish villagers, showing them that all their efforts to make the Kit weak were in vain. He will return to the village, and they see his power. They will tremble in fear and awe, enlightening them to their mistake." A smug grin on Naruto's face and a worried look from Jiraiya. They both faded from the mindscape. Chapter 4. Changes and Origins. Back in the clearing by the waterfall, Naruto and Jiraiya begin to stir. Waking up and shakily standing on slightly trembling legs, Jiraiya simply states, "Well, that was a hell of an experience." Also trembling slightly, Naruto comments, "Well, it was not that bad. We sure found out a lot of stuff we didn't know before. Plus, I get to train now, so let's get started." A voice in his head then sounds out, "Not so fast, Kit. Did you already forget? I am going to fix your body." "Kyubi? Oh yeah, I forgot you would be able to do that now. When are you going to fix my body again?" "First off, don't talk aloud. Simply think what you want to say, and I will hear it. Talking to yourself all the time will make you seem crazy. Second, I should warn you this is going to hurt. Thirdly, we start now. Watching this whole exchange, Jiraiya was confused, but then he remembered how Naruto allowed Kyuubi a mental connection in his head. So he decided to simply let it all play out. All of a sudden, though, a massive killer intent not felt in 13 years washes over the clearing. Naruto suddenly hunches over as red chakra surrounds his body. In a voice slightly altered by the demonic chakra, he reassures Jiraiya, who is looking worried. Don't worry, Erosenin. The fox is just starting to fix my body. I'll be fin dash. Naruto's statement was cut off when the already rising killer intent exploded and a pillar of red chakra was sent into the sky and Naruto starting to scream in agony. Being knocked back by shockwave of the power releasing, Jiraiya can't help but be worried. Kyuubi wasn't kidding when he said this would be noticed miles around. Jiraiya at this point is trying to make his way towards Naruto, but is having difficulties. Gah? I can hardly get close to him. This wind is so strong, and it burns. Pushing chakra into his limbs to push through the now gale force wind, Jiraiya is now standing in front of Naruto, looking through the dense chakra. Inside, he sees something that tears at his heart. Jiraiya can see Naruto floating slightly with his body rigid, arms and legs spread outward, face contorted in a silent scream of agony. Meanwhile, back in the village, panic, complete and utter panic ran rampant with the citizens of Konoha when the evil killer intent was felt and the pillar of red chakra rose in the distance for all to see. Civilians ran through the streets like a swarm of bees. Cries could be heard in the meantime. The demon is escaping. It's going to kill us all. We are going to die. In the Hokage's office, we can see the entire room packed with terrified ninjas and the civilian and elder councils all panicking and demanding the death of Naruto. Hokage-sama, what is happening? The brat's releasing the Kyuubi. It's finally going to take revenge on us. The screeching voice of Haruno Sakiri, one of the prominent members of the civilian council, sounded above the din. I told you we should have killed the brat, Hokage-sama, and now look what happened. The demon has finally taken over and is going to kill us. While the ninja and civilian council were panicking, the elders had fallen silent because they noticed that the Hokage seemed fairly relaxed in all of this. Raising his hand and slamming it on the desk, Sarutobi roared, "Silence!" In the now silent room, Danzo spoke. Hiruzen, what is the cause of such a massive release of Kyuubi's power? And why are you not worried about it? Do you know what is going on? All eyes turn to the Hokage as he speaks clearly and lies to their face, though they don't know the last part. There is no cause for panic. I sent Jiraiya to oversee Naruto's training with the fox's chakra. I told him to allow Naruto to go past his barrier and access as much as he could. Naruto came to me asking for help in controlling it because he could only go so far without losing himself to his bloodlust. So I offered Jiraiya and his skills in Fuinjutsu. I told him he would be able to practice without worry of repercussion, and in the event of a loss of control, Jiraiya would be able to suppress the beast. Standing up and turning to look out the window towards the pillar of power that is now starting to fade, the Sandaime continues. Look, the power is starting to fade. Jiraiya has everything under control. Now leave and return to your duties after you calm the civilians running around in the streets in a panic. I warn you now, there will be no action taken against Naruto because of this, and if I catch so much as a whiff of trouble, everyone here and those responsible for whatever is done will be sent down to the torture and interrogation department to talk to Ibiki about following my orders. Grumbling about the demon brat and how they can't give it what it deserves, the room starts to clear. However, it is only Danzo who catches the small smirk on his old teammate's face as he looks back to where the pillar was. Narrowing his eyes, he wonders, what are you planning, Hiruzen? I know you were lying to us. What is really going on here? Back in the clearing 10 minutes earlier, Jiraiya was feeling fairly sick watching the whole process. Looking through the red chakra, he can see Naruto's clothes burning from the heat and disintegrating. Unfortunately, without the bulky jumpsuit, Jiraiya has a clear picture of all that is happening to his godson's malnourished body. Even over the maelstrom of noise, he can still see and hear the cracking as bulges forming all over Naruto's body as bones are continually broken, restructured, and reformed. A sickening squelching sound is heard. Muscle is forming and becoming tighter and more defined with new skin and hair growing. Even contorted in pain, he can see Naruto's facial features were changing. His face was losing some of its childish roundness and becoming more angular. His eyes were becoming slanted like a fox. His whiskers were becoming darker, and his canines were turning into fangs. In short, Naruto was growing at a rapid pace before Jiraiya's eyes. As sickening as it was, Jiraiya had to admire Naruto's tolerance for pain, lasting 5 minutes before passing out from the pain. After the initial scream of agony, he stopped shouting and simply grit his teeth and went with it. The only indication that Naruto was in pain was the expression on his face. Overall, the process took 10 minutes, but for Jiraiya, it seemed like an eternity. Every breaking bone, every sickening squelch, every gasp of pain brought a wince to Jiraiya's face. His heart was breaking seeing his godson in such pain. But finally, it was all over. Due to Naruto's now lack of clothing, Jiraiya went over to the bag full of training gear he brought from Naruto's apartment. He brought out the training suit. Dressing his godson's still steaming and much heavier body, he rests him gently on the ground and looks over his new changes. Gone was Naruto's previously malnourished body. In its place was the body of a young man. He was no longer short for his age, changing from 4 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 3 inches. His ribs and bones were no longer showing from malnourishment. Instead, he was covered in lean, tight muscle, not enough to be muscle-bound and impede his movements, but still strong and built for speed. His hair was longer, the back now going down to the middle of his shoulders, the sides going to just below his jaw, framing his face, his spiky bangs falling freely on his forehead. The top was not as sticking up in the air anymore, but laid somewhat flat. His face looked older as well, losing some of its childish features. Great Kami. He looks like a young version of Minato. Looks like the fox kept its word. After gawking for a minute, he finally got over Naruto's changes, and his thoughts turned more perverted. Huh. This kid is going to be fighting off the ladies with a stick with that feral look of his. He's going to be a gold mine for my research. Giggle giggle, I can see it now. Ika Ika animal instincts. This kid is going to go far. It was while Jiraiya was lost in his perverted inner monologue that Naruto woke up. Noticing his new sensei's perverted look, he immediately shouted out in a slightly deeper voice, "Ero-senin, what perverted thoughts are you dash?" Trailing off slightly, Naruto now seems to notice his changes. JH, what happened to my voice? It's all deep now. Why do I feel different? Did the fox do this? Jiraiya snapping back to reality after Naruto's shout watches as Naruto was starting to freak out slightly in amusement. Having an idea, he shouts, "Huh? You think it's only your voice that's changed? Look in the river at your reflection and see how you look now." Immediately rushing over to the river and looking at his reflection, Naruto starts spacing out while taking in his new features. Slightly worried at Naruto's silence, Jiraiya asks, "Hey Gaki, are you okay?" Silence. I hope he's okay with the changes. Maybe he is upset at the fox. Or maybe he's scared at what the villagers will think and do to him if they see the changes. Interrupting Jiraiya's worried reflection, Naruto suddenly grins brightly and shouts out, "Why Tite? I look so cool. Oh man, this is awesome. I look totally badass." Naruto then starts bouncing around and doing some weird victory dance. Having a minor heart attack at Naruto's shout, he immediately stomps over and grabs Naruto by the collar of his suit and whacks Naruto upside the head while shouting, "Damn it, Gaki. You had me worried there. Don't freak me out like that." Giving sheepish grin and rubbing the back of his head, he says, "Hee hee. Sorry, Ero-senin. I just got real excited for a minute." Taking a closer look at his body, Naruto now seems to notice his change in clothes. Hey, what happened to my orange jumpsuit? How did I get in this thing? That would be my fault, Naruto. You see, when you were changing, your clothes got burned off, so I put that training suit on you so you would not catch a cold laying naked on the ground. Oh, okay. As long as you didn't do anything perverted to me, it's all good. Gaining a tick mark on his head, he hits Naruto again, shouting, "I'm not a pedophile, Gaki. That's my snake of a former teammate. Besides, I would rather be dead than touch a guy that way. I'm a super pervert. I like girls." Ow. You didn't have to hit me. I was only joking. Sheesh. Well, it was a bad one, so don't do it again. If you two are quite done, we have work to do. Naruto grabs his head slightly in pain due to the fox's frustration. You okay, Gaki? Yeah, it's just the fox telling us to get to work. Growing serious, Jiraiya agrees. He's right. We have much to do and only a month to get it done. So let's get started. Is there anything we need to do before we get started? No, I'm ready to get dash. Trailing off with a blank look once again before coming back. Wait. The fox says he and I have to get the contract taken care of. Having forgotten that little fact, Jiraiya remarks, Oh, I had forgotten about that. Well, it's probably a good thing anyway. I've got to run some errands to get some things for your training. So while you're doing that, I'll go take care of that and be back later. Nodding, Naruto says, Okay, I'll see you when you get back. Jiraiya then makes a hand sign and vanishes in a swirl of leaves. Watching Jiraiya leave, Naruto now asks the fox what to do. Come to your mindscape. I will explain what we need to do there. Okay, fox, but how do I get there? Naruto hears a sigh inside his head before. Just sit and meditate. I'll do the rest. Doing as asked, Naruto sits cross-legged on the ground and closes his eyes. With Jiraiya appearing in a swirl of leaves outside of the Hokage Tower, knowing he should probably talk to his sensei about what happened, Jiraiya then proceeds to hop up to the window of the Hokage office. Arriving through the window, he remarks, Hey sensei, I've got an update for you. Looking up from the current sheet of paperwork he was working on, the Sandaime Hokage greets his student with a serious look and asks, This would not happen to be about the immense spike in the fox's power that sent the village into a near panic, is it? Sitting across from Sarutobi, in an equally serious tone, Jiraiya responds, Yes, it is. I wanted to tell you all that has happened since we left. Nodding, go on. Well, it all started when I removed the Gogyo Fuin from Naruto. Back with Naruto. Appearing in the ceiling chamber in front of the gates, Naruto then stares up at the fox and greets him. Hey, Kyubi. Time to get you out of that cage for a bit, right? Nodding, the fox responds, Yes, Kit. I am eager to breathe the outside world again. I see you're enjoying the changes I made to your body as well. However, before we get started, I ask that you change this place to be a little less dull. Sitting in a cage in a sewer can get real boring after a while. With a confused face, Naruto asks, How can I do that? Grumbling at his container's stupidity, the fox responds, We are in your mindscape, Kit. Anything you can think of can be done here. The only limits here are the limits of your imagination. Oh, okay. Then let's see. Closing his eyes with a concentrated look on his face, Naruto imagines the forest outside of Konoha. Sure enough, the mindscape starts to waver and morph. The stone floor became a grassy plain, the pipes became giant trees, and the ceiling became a blue sky with a few clouds for shade. Opening his eyes, Naruto starts staring in awe, and his face lights up before noticing the bars of the cage are still there. Looking determined and closing his eyes again, Naruto starts concentrating on the bars, with Kyubi looking on in confusion. Upon seeing the bars of his cage changing, the fox, now understanding what Naruto was attempting, looked on in eagerness. Pretty soon the bars changed to form a large tree with the kanji for seal engraved in its bark. Breathing hard from the effort, Naruto then looks up to the Kyubi and asks with a small smile, How's that? The Kyubi then starts glowing. Watching in some fascination, Naruto watches as the Kyubi shrinks in size until he is the size of a small horse. Kyubi then relaxes and lays down on the ground and stretches out in a patch of grass. Letting out a sigh in satisfaction, he says, Much better. Thank you. Wondering how the Kyubi changed size, Naruto says, You're welcome. But how did you change size? Why did you not do that before? Giving Naruto a foxy grin, it remarks, And miss seeing the fear and awe on your face when you met me the first time. I don't think so. All foxes like playing pranks. I might be a Biju, but I'm still a fox, and so I like pranks as well. Grin growing. And when I'm free, I'm going to show you how to really prank those villagers of yours. You and I are going to have a lot of fun. Nodding eagerly. That sounds like fun, but I'm not known as the prankster king of Konoha for no reason. You might be surprised at what I can think of. I almost pity the villagers for what we are going to do to them. both chuckling at the mental images of the villagers being pranked to hell. It's Kyubi who decides to start. Let's get this done then. The sooner I'm out, the sooner we can start your training. Growing serious, Naruto sits on the ground and starts listening as the fox explains. Now, as you know, we are going to make a summoning contract for me that will allow my freedom from the seal. It's a fairly simple process, so it should be done by the time the pervert gets back. Now, first thing we need is a blank summoning scroll. How are we going to get that? There is not much in here to use. Reaching out with one of his tails, Kyubi then whacks Naruto on the head, sending him sprawling face down into the grass. Jumping back up and pointing at the fox, he shouts angrily, "Hey, what did you do that for?" It was a serious question. Face-palming, the Kyubi responds, "You baka, what did I just say about your mindscape and what you could do in it? You said I could change it, and the only limits are my..." "Oh, I see what you mean now. Here." A blank summoning scroll then appears in between them, and Kyubi decides to continue explaining. "As I was saying, now you need to place some blood on the scroll. Take a kunai and slice your hand and squeeze the blood over the scroll." Naruto does as instructed. "Now I'm sending you a mental image of the hand signs you need to weave. Do you have them?" Naruto nods. "Good. While I run my chakra into the scroll, channel your own chakra, run through those hand signs, and slam your hand down into the blood, releasing all the chakra you built up into the scroll." "Okay, but I was wondering what the last hand sign was. I've never seen it before." "It's the hand sign for demon. Only those with a demon's chakra flowing in them can use it to any effect." Satisfied, Naruto follows the instructions. After releasing his chakra into the scroll, it started glowing with a mixture of red and blue, and the blood started spreading across the scroll in intricate patterns Naruto had never seen before. Eventually, the glow died down, and Kyubi says, "Contract complete." As soon as the fox spoke, Naruto's arm started burning and smoking. Closing his eyes, Naruto grit his teeth so as not to cry out. Feeling the pain dissipate, he looks down at his arm that now holds a tattoo on his arm with 9 tails curled into a spiral similar to the swirl symbol on the back of his jumpsuit, and an image of Kyubi's head in the center. Forestalling Naruto's question, Kyubi says, "That is a summoning tattoo. It is what symbolizes our contract allowing you to summon me." "Great. What do I do now, Kyubi?" "I sense the pervert has not returned, so leave the mindscape and wait for him. When he returns, tell him the contract was mad, and then summon me." "Okay, how do I summon you?" "Bite your thumb and swipe some blood across the seal. Channel some of my chakra, and then slam your hand onto the ground shouting, 'Oni Kuchios no Jutsu, Demon Summoning Jutsu.'" "All right. See you in a few minutes." Naruto fades out of his mindscape and back into the clearing. Jiraiya back in the Hokage office. "And that is when I left him to get the contract done." Jiraiya blew out a breath and sat back in his chair. The Hokage was speechless. The story sounded so crazy, yet he had a feeling it was all true. Jiraiya and Naruto met Kyubi? Kyubi was under a Jinjutsu when it attacked the village? Kyubi wants to help Naruto? Kyubi aged Naruto's body 4 years and 10 minutes? Naruto can summon the Kyubi. It was all too much, and Sarutobi's brain shut down. Jiraiya was getting a little worried when the silence stretched on. "Maybe I broke him. It is kind of a lot to take in." Waving his hand in front of Sarutobi's face, Jiraiya asked, Sarutobi-sensei, are you in there?" "Sensei." Eventually, the Hokage's brain rebooted, and he asked to confirm once again, "You're not joking, are you, Jiraiya?" "That is all completely true." "Completely, sensei." Sighing, the Hokage responded, "I was afraid of that. You're absolutely certain there is no danger to the village? You don't think the Kyubi was lying?" "I was worried at first, but it seems sincere. I don't think there is any danger." "Very well then, Jiraiya. Just be careful." "Sure thing, sensei. I better get going. I have to get some supplies before I go back to the clearing." Jiraiya then leaves out the window and towards the marketplace, thinking about all the things he needs to do. "I have to get him a new outfit. That orange jumpsuit has to go. He's going to need some weights for taijutsu practice. Going to have to go to the Higurashi ninja shop for that. I should probably get him some books on sealing and basic fuinjutsu supplies while I'm there. Sealing is in his blood, being an Uzumaki, and when he finds out about his mother, I bet he will be even more interested. Finally, I need to teach him some basic ninjutsu. Won't be too hard. I can take care of that. Plus the training in those abilities QB was talking about. This is going to be a long month. Arriving at the Higurashi ninja shop, he walks in and the door rings, signaling his entrance. Looking over at the counter, he sees a young girl in a Chinese-style shirt and hair up in two buns polishing a katana. Looking up when he enters, the girl grows wide-eyed at his presence. Jumping up and bowing, the girl says, "Jiraiya-sama, it's an honor to have you in our store. My name is Higurashi Tenten. Is there anything I can help you find?" Bowing slightly in return, Jiraiya remarks, "Actually, Tenten-san, I was wondering if Kishiro was in." "Oh, you mean Dad?" "Yeah, he's in the back working the forge. I'll go get him." Deciding to start looking around while waiting, Jiraiya eventually hears a booming voice behind him. "Ah, Jiraiya-sama, it's been years since you last been here. It's great to see you again." Turning around, he sees a bear of a man. Higurashi Kishiro, a former ninja who retired due to injury in the Third Shinobi War, is very tall and muscular with a barrel chest and massive arms covered in scars and burn marks that only comes from blacksmithing, a weathered face and long black hair with streaks of gray bound by a leather strap, showing his age. Smelling of smoke and clothes covered in soot. Though imposing, the man has a mile-wide smile on his face as he greets his old friend. An equally large grin on his own face, Jiraiya shakes the man's large hand, says, "It's been too long, Kishiro. And how many times have I told you to drop the sama? I told you, just because I'm a Sannin doesn't mean you have to address me like that. We go way back to my Genin days." Laughing loudly, Kishiro responds, "Only every time I see you, Jiraiya. But I'm sure you didn't come here to reminisce about old times. Now what can I do for you?" Growing serious, Jiraiya looks Kishiro in the eyes and says, "It regards his legacy." Knowing immediately who Jiraiya was talking about, Kishiro turns to his daughter, who is listening to the conversation. "Tinchan, would you please go deliver the batch of training weapons to the academy while Jiraiya and I borrow the shop for a bit?" Confused, but resigned, she responds, "Okay, Dad. I'll be back in an hour." Leaving and switching the sign to closed on her way out, Kishiro then asks, "So it's time already, huh?" "Yes. Things are happening that are making me move up my plans for Naruto. I have to train him and get him strong enough to survive what is about to happen. I've met young Naruto several times already. He always seemed like such a nice boy. But I know some of the things that have happened to him, and quite frankly, it disgusts me. I'm happy to help Jiraiya. I owe Minato a debt that I could never repay. The least I can do is help his son." "I know. I just found out the whole story from Naruto and Sarutobi-sensei. Let's just say things in the village are going to be very exciting come the finals." "I'm sure. Now what is it you need?" "I'm needing a new outfit made for Naruto. 5 sets of them will work, and I've already got what I want written down. That orange jumpsuit makes Naruto a walking target, and he needs to blend in more." Handing Kishiro the paper with the specifications, he looks it over and nods. "I can have this done in a few weeks. What else?" Nodding, "Yes, about 5 will do. Also, Naruto and I are going to leave after the finals, so I need the long-term training package. Training clothes, with slots to put weights in. Don't worry about them being chakra weights. I can draw the seals myself. A full set of kunai and shuriken. Some basic fuinjutsu scrolls and supplies. Also a practice sword for kenjutsu. I'm going to give Naruto his mother's inheritance, and I'm sure he is going to need it. Finally, I need some sealing scrolls to store everything." As Jiraiya was listing the items, Kishiro was grabbing them off the shelves and piling them on the counter. Pulling out his wallet to pay for the items, Kishiro waves it away. "It's on the house, Jiraiya. I've gained plenty of business from Naruto over the years, and this is the least I can do to help repay my debt." Bowing to the man, Jiraiya said, "Thank you, my friend. There is one more thing, though. I need a batch of Minato's special order to be made and picked up before we leave. I will pay double for your speed and discretion." Eyes widening, Kishiro whispers, "So you are going to teach him that? Very well. I'll have it done and ready by the time you have to leave. Be careful." Bowing once again, Jiraiya heads towards the door with the large scroll full of supplies. Before he leaves, he says, "You too, Kishiro. I won't forget this. Thank you." And then he was gone in a swirl of leaves after the door closes. With Naruto back at the clearing. Kyuso, what is taking that pervert so long? I swear if he is peeking again, I'm going to beat the crap out of him. Cease your senseless ranting, he is here. A swirl of leaves announced Jiraiya's arrival with a large scroll tucked under his arm. Waving, hey Naruto, I'm back. Sorry it took so long. I was talking with Sarutobi-sensei and got held up. How did things go with the fox? Accepting Jiraiya's excuse and calming down, Naruto responds, it's done. I was just waiting for you to get back before I summoned him. What is in the scroll, by the way? Waving it off. It's just some supplies for your training. Go ahead and summon Kyubi. I want to see how this works. Only channel a medium-sized amount of my chakra kit. You don't want to summon me full size and cause a panic. Okay, Fox. Good idea. Walking over to a large open space, Naruto bites his thumb and swipes some blood across the tattoo on his arm. He starts channeling a moderate amount of the fox's chakra, and feeling a pull in his stomach, he slams his hand on the ground and shouts, Oni Kuchios no Jutsu. A large puff of smoke erupts in the clearing and a deep booming voice is heard. It is good to be free of that blasted seal. The smoke cleared, revealing a 10-foot-tall Kyubi. Turning to the gaping duo, Kyubi says, time to begin. Coming out of their stupor, Jiraiya turns to Naruto and says, he is right. We have a lot to do. Now let's go sit down, and I'll tell you what is going to happen. The trio sits down in the shade of some trees, and Jiraiya begins speaking. First things first. Naruto, while we are teaching you, you will address us with respect and call us Jiraiya-sensei and Kyubi-sensei. Second, you will do as ordered and not complain. The training will be brutal, but it is necessary. Gazing at Naruto in seriousness, he receives a nod in understanding. Good. Now first I am going to tell you the key to our training is in Kage Bunshin. As you may or may not know, the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu has the ability to transfer any and all information gained by the clones to the original. I know you can make hundreds of clones at once, and that is what we are going to do every day. Surprised at this information and more than a little excited at the possibilities this offers, Naruto nods eagerly. Every day you will start by making 300 clones. You will divide them into equal groups of 10 and have them work on different tasks. I will create 10 shadow clones to work with these groups. The original you will work with Kyubi and myself. Group 1 will practice chakra control. This group will practice tree and water walking, as well as kunai balancing. Groups 2 and 3 will work on the ninjutsu I will teach you. Groups 4, 5, and 6 will work with Kyubi in training your special abilities. Is that enough, Kyubi? It will work enough to get the basics down, but I want to train him in the Kitsune Taijutsu style as well. Alright, in that case, I will let groups 7 and 8 work on that with you. Are you able to make clones? To help with the groups? Yes, I can split my power by the number of tails. In my case, 9. Okay, that works out well. Now, Group 9 will be reading Fuinjutsu theory, and Group 10 practicing your Kenjutsu skills. The Uzumaki clan was renowned for their sealing and Kenjutsu skills, and it's time you started learning. Now you, yourself, will be spending time meditating to sort through the clones' memories and practicing what they learned with either myself or Kyubi. This will go on for 3 of the 4 weeks we have to train. The final week will be for review and rest, and a surprise I will reveal to you as an award if you work hard and make sufficient progress. Do you have any questions? Nodding, Naruto says, yeah, I do. What do you mean about the Uzumaki clan? I did not know there was one. Incredibly surprised, Jiraiya asks, you mean you don't know? The Uzumaki clan's history is important in the founding of Konoha. Did you not learn about that in the academy? Shaking his head, no, I didn't. They did not mention anything about it. Who were they? They sound important. Speaking up, the Kyubi says, I know much about your clan, kid, seeing as all my previous hosts have been Uzumaki. Desperate for knowledge of his origin, Naruto pleadingly asks, will you please tell me about the Kyubi-sensei? Nodding, Kyubi begins his explanation. Many years ago, the Uzumaki are the royal family of Yuzushogakyure, village hidden by whirling tides, a village on an island located in the land of whirlpools. The Uzumaki are distant blood relatives of the Senju clan, and as such, were on good terms with each other. So when the Senju and Uchiha clans decided to begin negotiations after much battle and death, the Uzumaki were called in as peacekeepers. When negotiations were over and Konoha was formed, an alliance was formally created between Yuzu and Konoha by way of political marriage. Uzumaki Mito was given to Senju Hashirama, the Shodaime Hokage. On a side note, Mito was my first host. Unfortunately, a tragedy befell the clan. The Uzumaki were famous for their longevity and knowledge of seals, also to a lesser extent, their kenjutsu skills. This caused them to gain many enemies. They were a small village, but their power rivaled that of the Great Five. Most of the other major villages feared that. So an alliance consisting of Iwa, Kumo, and Kiri was formed. They banded together and launched an assault on Yuzu, destroying the village and killing all but a few. They sent for help from Konoha, was sent reinforcements led by Uzumaki Kushina, heir to the throne of Yuzu, who was in Konoha a few days before the massacre. Unfortunately, they arrived too late. After slaughtering the enemies still there, they discovered all who survived were scattered to the wind. I don't know much more than that. Jiraiya interjects with, "This is what triggered the start of the Second Shinobi War." The Uzumaki clan symbol, the swirl that is on the back of much of the clothing that the ninja wear in Konoha, was worn proudly in that war in honor of their sacrifice. Naruto by now has tears running down his face upon hearing the tragedy that befell his clan. He shakily asks, "Is there anything left?" Jiraiya nods and then says, "Yes, Naruto, there are some ruins left. You were actually near the area where the village was located. You see, some of the survivors eventually returned to the land of whirlpools and decided to live peacefully and never establish a ninja system there again so as not to be attacked. The name was then changed to what is now the Land of Waves. The island was closed off to all travel due to the whirlpools surrounding it that only an Uzumaki knew how to deactivate." Naruto is silent as he stares at the swirl on his headband. Kyuubi and Jiraiya both give him a minute to come to terms with what he has heard. Eventually, his tears stopped and his eyes started burning in determination. He then swears in the most serious voice he can muster, "I will forever remember their sacrifice. In their honor, I will learn all I can of their arts and become the next Uzumaki seal master. I will eventually return to my ancestors' homeland and rebuild it to its former glory. I swear this on my ninja way." Nodding in satisfaction, Jiraiya then asks, "Is there anything else before we start?" Naruto shakes his head no. The trio then stands up and Jiraiya says, "Then let's get started. Create the clones and we will begin." Naruto shouts, "Yash," and moves to the middle of the clearing. Channeling his chakra and moving his fingers into a familiar cross sign, he roars out, "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." Chapter 5, Sins of the Past. The past 3 weeks have been some of the toughest of Naruto's life, and he was looking forward to finally be able to rest. Every day has been the same. He would wake up and summon Kyuubi. Then he would make 300 bunshins and have them group off learning various things under the watchful eyes of Kyuubi and Jiraiya, as well as their own bunshins, while he went and did physical training using the weights Jiraiya gave him. Then every 5 hours, Naruto would meditate and slowly disperse the groups of bunshins and assimilate their knowledge. He would then create more bunshins and start the process over again while he went and practiced what they learned, and continue this until it was time to sleep. I had all paid off though. Naruto was the strongest he'd ever been in his life. Under Kyuubi's tutelage, he learned how to utilize his enhanced senses. He can also create and control foxfire. He was only at an intermediate level. He had no problem creating and channeling it like he would normal fire, but the jutsu he used were low in number. He could also manipulate it to cover parts of his body for use in his taijutsu. He also started delving into kitsune illusions. But they were complicated and he did not get very far, only at a beginner's level, being able to do basic illusions such as Kitsune no Sakaku, Kaji no Kuruku, Kitsune Illusion, Cloak of Shadows, and Kitsune no Sakaku, Niseno Kitsuyuki, Kitsune Illusion, False Insanity. The Kitsune-style taijutsu was a different story. He took to it like a fish to water. It just felt natural to him, and he became very proficient, borderline advanced at the style. When combined with his foxfire abilities, it made a deadly combination. The Kitsune Taijutsu is a very acrobatic style that utilizes speed, unpredictability, feints, misdirection, and counterattacks, often integrating parts of the environment to its advantage. Moving in all directions near the opponent, whether it be above, behind, to the sides, or head-on. The user moves in using high speeds to bypass an opponent's guard and strike quickly with a quick punch or kick combo, and then move away before the opponent can counterattack. Movements simply flow with each other with no pattern or method, making it hard to predict, yet still very deadly. Learning the style was made even harder due to the chakra weights given by Jiraiya. Thanks to the Kyuubi's healing, however, his body quickly adapted to the weights. So Jiraiya then placed resistance seals on him. These seals work by altering the air around the bearer, increasing its resistance to movement, making it feel more like moving through water or mud. Naruto's seal was currently only on level 2 out of 10 due to only having them for a few days. Training with Jiraiya was just as difficult, but his ninjutsu arsenal was now greatly expanded to include some jutsu of his nature affinities, wind and fire, with the fire being Kitsunbai. Those include Katon, Inden, Fire Release, Flame Bullet, Katon, Hozenka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Phoenix Sage Fire, Futon, Daitapa, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough, Futon, Atsugai, Wind Release, Pressure Damage. He also learned some jutsu to expand on his existing talent with Kage Bunshins. Those include Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shuriken Shadow Clone, Kunai Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Kunai Shadow Clone, and Naruto's favorite, Bunshin Daibaka, Clone Great Explosion. He also learned the Shunshin no Jutsu, Body Flicker, at Jiraiya's insistence. His chakra control also increased greatly, mastering tree and water walking to the point where he could fight on any surface for over an hour without losing his concentration. He had also started kunai balancing, and was able to hold a kunai suspended above his hand for about 5 minutes. Naruto's skill in sealing progressing quickly. Fuinjutsu just seemed to click with Naruto. He read through several books on Fuinjutsu theory and improved his calligraphy to a level Jiraiya was satisfied with. He can write seals at decent speeds for a variety of functions. He is versed in some Fuinjutsu techniques like Yan-Tsu no Kuna no Fuxakusu no Shihiki for corner fox barrier. He can also make many types of seals, ranging from storage scrolls to explosion tags and chakra suppressors. His kenjutsu was also nothing to scoff at. While he is no master swordsman, he was able to adequately wield and use a sword without looking like a complete novice. Using hundreds of bunshins every day for 3 weeks had improved Naruto's skills from low Chunin to high Chunin or low Jonin. We now find Naruto and Jiraiya heading towards a familiar ninja shop. Present time with Naruto and Jiraiya. With an exasperated look on his face, Naruto asks, Ero-senin, where are we going? I want to get some ramen. It's been forever since I went to Ichiraku's and saw Tsuchiya and I am Nichin. Frustrated at the lack of respect, Jiraiya asks, whatever happened to Jiraiya-sensei Gaki? I thought I was finally getting some respect from you. With a sly grin, Naruto answers, that's because we aren't training anymore. You said while we were training I was supposed to call you that, but now we aren't, it's back to Ero-senin. I do respect you though, so if you like I could call you Ero-sensei. Besides, you're still a pervert, so I will call you Ero-dash, because that is what you are. Sighing, Jiraiya says, whatever Gaki, but to answer your question, in case you haven't noticed, your training outfit is beat to hell, and due to your growth spurt, none of your old outfits will fit. So we are heading to pick up the new outfit I had made for you at the Higurashi Ninja shop. Grinning brightly, oh, we're going to see Kishiro Ajisen? That's cool. I haven't seen him since before my last mission. A new outfit would be good, I guess. I hope there is some orange in it. I love orange. Shaking his head, Jiraiya says, I know you love orange, so there is some in it, but nowhere near the degree it was with your horrific jumpsuit. Laughing lightly with a faraway look, Naruto says, yeah, I suppose that thing looked terrible, didn't it? But it was the only thing I could afford, and it helped draw attention to me. I suppose that is why I bought it, so I could have my existence acknowledged. But none of that matters anymore. I no longer care about what the villagers think of me. I'll miss my friends, but I will be glad to leave the village after the Chunin exams. Mood dampened slightly, Jiraiya says, yeah, I can understand. But things are going to change soon. You will show the village what a mistake they made when your burden is revealed to the public. The lies will stop, and people will be forced to look at their actions. That reminds me, I still need to have Sensei talk to your friend Sensei about what is going to happen soon. Gaining a slightly devious smirk. I still can't believe you and Gigi thought of that. It's so clever. Plus, it will make the council look bad by airing their dirty laundry regarding me. That makes it worth it. Plus, what you're planning for me is awesome, and there is nothing the council can do about it. What I'd give to be a fly on the wall for that meeting. It's going to be hilarious. Patting Naruto's Jiraiya says, I planned on you and I crashing that meeting. As the meeting does regard you, and to an extent me, they would not be able to raise a fuss about our presence. Although I'll ask Sarutobi-sensei to cause a distraction, allowing us to show up in the shadows and hide our presence with our transparency jutsu to spy on it for a while first. Then reveal our presence when the time is right. But enough of that. It looks like we are here. Entering the shop causing the bell to ring, Kizaru looked up to see both Naruto and Jiraiya standing there with Naruto waving and saying, Hi Kizaru Ajisen. Did you miss me? Looking confused, Kizaru looks at Naruto and is slightly stunned. Minato? No, wait, that's not Minato. But that must mean. Pointing at Naruto, he asks with voice trembling slightly, Naruto? Is that you? With a foxy grin that bears his fangs, making him look even more feral with his new features. Of course it's me. Who else would call you Ajisen to your face? Laughing because that is true. I suppose you're right. You sure changed a lot. Do you mind me asking what happened? Looking towards Jiraiya and seeing him nod, Naruto decides to tell the truth. Ero-sennin seems to trust you, so no, I don't mind. You know about my tenant, right? Chuckling at Naruto's nickname for Jiraiya and nodding, Naruto continues. Well, I met him a few weeks ago after Ero-sennin removed the seal that was over the fox's seal, and it pulled me and him into the seal, where we talked and made a deal. Turns out my seal was not working right, and caused my body to be stuck as a 9-year-old. He fixed it, but it had some side effects, as you can see. That is what the explosion of power a few weeks ago was about. Completely surprised at what he was told, Kizaru felt like he wasn't getting the whole picture, but decided not to ask as he didn't need to know. Shaking his head, Kizaru asks, So I assume you are here to pick up your new wardrobe? Nodding eagerly, yeah. Ero-sennin said he got me new clothes because my old ones would not fit anymore. This training suit is all I got. Handing Naruto a brown, wrapped package, Kizaru offers. Well, why not just change into a set here? There are changing areas in the back. Go on while I talk to Jiraiya here. Bowing, Naruto thanks him and goes off to the back of the store to change. Jiraiya, after making sure Naruto was out of earshot, even with his advanced hearing, then asked with a whisper, Is the special order almost ready? Equally quiet, Kizaru replies, Yes. It is almost done. By the end of the exams you will be able to stop by and pick them up. Does Naruto know about his parents yet? Shaking his head, Jiraiya replies, No. I am going to tell him about his parents later today and give him his mother's inheritance. I'll hold on to his father's scroll until we are safely out of Konoha. There is no way we can risk his father's prized jutsu falling into the hands of someone like Danzo. That would be disastrous for all involved. Nodding, Kizaru says, It sounds like a plan. I hope he does not react too badly, though. I hope he does, Kizaru. Now look alive. Here he comes. Sure enough, there was Naruto dressed in his new outfit with a foxy grin on his face. Thank you so much, Ero-sennin, this is awesome. I look totally badass in this. Indeed he did. Naruto's outfit consisted of a short-sleeved, black trench coat with dark red and orange flames at the bottom of the coat, the Uzumaki clan symbol on the left sleeve, and the kanji for 9 engraved on a Hittite plate on the right. His practice sword attached to the fasteners going diagonally down the back, a mesh shirt visible under a long-sleeved, tan, V-neck style shirt. Wrapped bandages starting at the forearm over the sleeves down to the hand. Semi-loose black pants with some bandages around the thighs, and a kunai holster attached to the right leg, held up by a belt, brown in color, with places to hold scrolls on them, a pouch for basic supplies near the back of the hip, and finally shin mesh to bind the lower area of the pant legs, and black ninja sandals. Nodding in approval, Jiraiya said, You pull of that look well, Gaki. especially with that feral look and longer hair of yours. You look like a serious ninja. Looking at Jiraiya with a grin on his face, then turning to Naruto. You almost look like you were born to wear those clothes. Although it helps when this is a near replica of Minato's clothing during his prime, just in darker colors and smaller size. He definitely takes after his father now. Oblivious to the older man's inner thoughts, Naruto simply says, "Thanks Kizaru Ajisen, Ero Sennin." Kizaru smiles then frowns slightly. "You welcome Naruto, but I can't help but feel something is missing." "Ah, I know." Kizaru reaches back to the leather wrap in his hair, unravels it, letting his hair flow free and hands it to Naruto saying, "Come over here for a minute." Naruto does as asked and Kizaru turns him around so he can see Naruto's hair from the back. Pulling the hair together in the back, Kizaru proceeds to wrap the dark leather band in Naruto's hair starting at the base of the neck, down to his shoulders where he leaves a small amount of hair falling freely at the very end. He then unties Naruto's forehead protector and turning Naruto around, he ties it to his left arm. So the leaf symbol is visible just below the Uzumaki clan symbol. "There you go, Naruto. Now it's perfect." Naruto then turns to the window to see his reflection and admire the new hairstyle and placement of his forehead protector. Giving a thumbs up, Naruto says, "It's perfect. Thanks." Jiraiya then speaks up. "Thank you for getting this done, Kizaru. We have to go dash." Jiraiya was then interrupted by Naruto's stomach making its displeasure about lack of food apparent, much to Naruto's embarrassment. "And get the Gaki some food apparently." "Yada." To Ichiraku's. Grabbing Naruto's shoulder before he can run off, Jiraiya then says, "Wait Naruto. Let's take the quick way, why don't we?" "Okay, Ero Sennin. Bye Kizaru Ajisen. I'll see you later." Both Jiraiya and Naruto bowed before making a hand sign and disappearing in their respective shunshin's. Jiraiya in a swirl of leaves and Naruto in a swirling column of blue fire. Outside Ichiraku Ramen. Arriving at the ramen stand, Naruto immediately ducks under the flaps and shouts in greeting. "Hey Tsuchiya-jizen, I am Nichin. Did you miss me?" Naruto is immediately glomped by a brown and white blur. This blur happened to be Ichiraku Ayam, a young woman of around 17, with tan skin, long brown hair, and dark eyes. She and her father have known Naruto since he was a child and are two of the few who treat Naruto well, with Tuchi acting like a kindly grandfather and Ayam an older sister. "Naruto Atudo, where have you been? We haven't seen you in over a month, and we were getting worried." Turning red due to being smothered in Ayam's chest, Naruto manages to force out, "I am Nichin. Can't breathe." At this point Jiraiya, who is currently grinning lecherously and scribbling in his notebook, comments, "I don't know Naruto. Seems like a good way to go to me." Giggle giggle. Ayam, looking down and seeing where she is currently gripping Naruto at, turns red and after letting go of Naruto, shouts, "Pervert," and hits Jiraiya with the ladle she is currently holding. Upon hearing Ayam shouting out, Tuchi, in a fit of fatherly rage, storms out to castrate whoever is inappropriately touching his daughter, however stops at seeing Jiraiya and stares confusedly at the sight of a bright red Ayam, a laughing Naruto, and Jiraiya, who is currently on the floor with swirly eyes and a huge lump on his head. Immediately guessing what has happened and realizing he overreacted, Tuchi then remarks, "You'll never change, will you, Jiraiya?" Jumping up and dusting himself off like nothing happened, he replies, You know me Tuchi, I need research for my new book and the Gaki here is a gold mine." At this time, Tuchi and Ayam take a closer look at Naruto, who currently is grinning widely at the sight of the duo and taking his changes, with varied reactions. Tuchi whistles and says, "Looking good Naruto. I like the new look. Finally hit puberty, huh?" Wincing slightly at the memory, but pushing it away and smiling at his Ajisen, he replies, "Hee hee. I guess you could say that Tuchi Ajisen. But what's wrong with Ayam? She's acting weird." Said girl was staring at Naruto with a glazed look on her face, flushed cheeks, and a bit of blood dribbling down her nose. Upon seeing this, Tuchi immediately bursts out laughing, snapping Ayam back to reality and wondering what the joke was. Naruto, being oblivious, doesn't understand what is going on but notices the blood and comments, "Hey, I am Nichin. You got a bit of blood coming out of your nose. With pink rising in her cheeks at being caught having some indecent thoughts towards her little brother, quickly wipes her nose and changes the subject by asking, "So Naruto, what'll it be today?" As if on cue, Naruto's stomach starts grumbling again, causing him to sheepishly rub the back of his head and say, "I guess two of the usual I am Nichin. I'm pretty hungry." Writing it down on her notepad, she then says, "All right then, 10 bowls of ramen, with 6 miso, 2 chicken, and 2 beef, coming right up. What do you want, Jiraiya-sama?" Jiraiya-sama, are you okay?" Jiraiya, whose eyes bugged out at hearing the order, is currently having flashbacks of a certain female, red-headed Uzumaki. "Kami, he eats just as much as his mother. My poor wallet is going to be so empty when I'm done here." Eventually shaking himself out of his stupor, he says, "Just a beef and vegetable ramen is fine with me." Now sitting at the bar next to each other with the two ramen cooks in the back, Naruto asks, "Hey Ero-senin, where are we going after this? I don't really want to go back to my apartment and have to deal with everything being broken again." Nodding and understanding, Jiraiya says, "You're staying with me at my hotel for the remainder of our time in the village. But before we go, we have to stop and see the Hokage. I'm sure he misses you, and we have to get the first phase of our plan out of the way." Nodding in agreement, Naruto then asks, "It's really happening, isn't it? There's no going back now." "Serious now, it is Naruto. There is no other choice. I will not let the village continue on unpunished, and this will strike them all where it hurts." Ayam then returns with their meals. With a quick "Ida to Kamesu," they dig into their meals. After finishing them and receiving the bill, Jiraiya cries waterfall tears as he empties his wallet onto the countertop. After which Naruto and Jiraiya then shunshin to the Hokage's office. Hokage office, with Sarutobi. Sarutobi Hiruzen was currently fighting a losing battle against the bane of every Kage in existence, paperwork. Massaging his aching hand, he gets up and walks over towards the Yandame's portrait with a scowl on his face. "I bet you're just mocking me right now, seeing me toil over endless piles of paperwork. How did you do it? What was the secret to getting it all finished so easily?" His internal grumbling was interrupted when he felt the telltale spike in chakra, signaling a shunshin in his office. Turning to face the new arrivals, he is surprised to see who is arriving in his office. Appearing in the classic swirl of leaves was Jiraiya, but it was who appeared in a column of blue fire swirling up from the floor that caused the Sandame's heart to stop briefly. "Minato? No, it can't be Minato, so it must be Dash." "Hey old man, did you miss me?" Smiling brightly, "Naruto, my boy, it's good to see you. You being here must mean that the training was successful, correct? Come sit down." Sarutobi sits at his desk, and after activating the privacy seals in his office, he motions for them to begin. "Hell yeah, it did. Jiraiya-sensei and Kyubi-sensei taught me a lot. I learned so much thanks to those bunshins of mine." Smiling, Sarutobi asks Jiraiya, "And how would you rate young Naruto now? How strong is he really?" Taking a contemplative look, Jiraiya then says, "As of now, he's got the finals in the back. As for his skills, his taijutsu is easily low-mid jonin. His ninjutsu is easily jonin, by utilizing his two elemental affinities to full effect, as well as the Kage Bunshin jutsus. I'd definitely say jonin. Jinjutsu is nil if he can't use the Kitsune illusions. If he can, I'd say he is low-mid Chunin there. He has a lot of latent talent in Kenjutsu, being an Uzumaki, so there is a ton of potential there. I'd probably rate it at low jonin, though it will get higher if he gets more practice in. Ceiling, in high jonin in theory, having read several advanced books on Fuinjutsu. However, due to the amount of time it took to correct his handwriting dash. Boy, my handwriting was not that bad. Shudagaki, it was atrocious. But we fixed it. Anyway, if we had more time, he could get his practical Fuinjutsu up to his theory, but as of this moment, his around low jonin. He's already Chunin. Heck, I would rate him a Tokabetsu, special, jonin with a specialization in sealing. Kyubi and I really outdid ourselves here. I never expected that using the bunshins would allow him to get this far." Beaming in pride at the praise he's given, Naruto feels the need to point out, "Don't forget this is all because of your idea to use the Kage Bunshins to shorten the time and get more stuff done. That was awesome." Nodding in agreement, Sarutobi says, young Naruto-kun is right, Jiraiya-kun. I was really clever. I certainly look forward to Naruto's performance in the exams. Sorry about earlier when I first saw you. My eyes were playing tricks on me, and I thought I saw someone else. Hehe, you must be getting old, Ajisen. Now you're seeing things. Who else would it be? While Naruto was speaking, Sarutobi sent a questioning look towards Jiraiya, then flicking his eyes towards Naruto and back. He indicates, does he know? Shaking his head, Jiraiya mouths, tonight, and Sarutobi nods. All of this happened in the span of a few seconds, and Naruto was oblivious to the silent exchange. Sighing, the Sandaime asks, do you want to get the plan started? Yeah, time to fill out the apprenticeship forms and get the stamp of approval. Standing up and moving to the middle of the room, the Hokage snaps, Uzumaki Naruto, front and center. Jumping up and into said position. Do hereby accept the full-time apprenticeship of Jiraiya of the Sannin, Toad Sage of MT Miyaboku. If you do, Jiraiya-sama will be your legal guardian in all things. You will be granted the rights and privileges a Sannin has, including, but not limited to, Sannin travel rights and limited political immunity. You will only answer to either Jiraiya-sama or myself. No one else will have the authority to command you. Are you willing to accept this responsibility? Bowing at the waist, he says, I do so swear on the will of fire that I accept this honor and will be forever loyal to you and my master. Placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder, the Sandaime looks Naruto in the eye and says, I'm very proud of you, Naruto-kun. You made a good choice. Motioning everybody to his desk, the Sandaime asks Naruto and Jiraiya to sign their names on the applications for apprenticeship and guardianship. Doing that, Sarutobi then gleefully stamps the Hokage seal on the document, making it official. It's done. Is there anything else? Yes, Sensei, just one thing. Nodding, Sarutobi motions on. I would like you to have that talk with Naruto's classmate Sensei. Smiling slightly and nodding. It's already been done. It was a rather interesting conversation. Flashback 3 weeks ago, Hokage's office. In the Hokage's office sat the 4 Jonin senseis of the group the village has dubbed the Rookie 12. On the far left sat Gaimedo, Konoha's Taijutsu master and sensei for Team 9. On the inner left sat Yui Kurenai, the Jinjutsu mistress of Konoha and sensei to Team 8, staring with disdain at the smoker next to her. That smoker was the son of the Sandaime Hokage, Sarutobi Asuma, former member of the 12 Ninja Guardians and sensei to Team 10. Finally, on the end sat Hatake Kakashi, the copy ninja, the last surviving member of Team Minato and sensei to Team 7. Across the desk sat Sarutobi Hiruzen, smoking his pipe. I'm sure you are wondering why we have called you away from training your students for the Chunin exam finals. Kakashi winced slightly, but only the Sandaime noticed. Some news has come up, and I felt it prudent to inform you, because it involves those on your team entered in the Chunin exam finals. Kurenai asks, what information is this, Hokage-sama, and how does it affect our students? Gazing seriously at them all, it seems that Suna has brought a Jinchuriki for the exams, and he is currently in the finals. At this news, the 4 Jonin's eyes widen. You can now see why I felt the need to bring this to your attention, especially you, Kakashi, seeing as how one of your students is fighting him. Now everything we own on the Gaara and our own Jinchuriki, Naruto from the time they were born until now, are in these folders. I want you to read them, and then we'll continue. The Jonin then take the folders and start reading. While smoking his pipe, waiting for them to finish, the Sandaime notices multiple expressions cross the Jonin's face. Disgust, fear, hatred, sadness, surprise, and more. Finally, all are finished, and the air is full of sadness. Asuma says, I knew Jinchuriki had it rough, but this is terrible. Assassination attempts, brutal beatings, torture, I never knew. Naruto has had a terrible life, and Gaara's was even worse. They are granted so much power, but at a terrible cost. Sigh, I need another cigarette. Kurenai can't say anything. She is simply speechless with an aching heart and tears running down her face. Guy says in a surprisingly quiet voice, such unyouthfulness these children deal with. In our own village, too. It seems the villagers' flames of youth went dark a long time ago in regards to young Naruto. Kakashi, I already knew about a majority of these issues, seeing as I was usually the first ANBU on the scene, but seeing it all together on paper, what seemed small and scattered incidents were actually so much more. How could I have been so blind to this? So you all understand now. I am giving you full authority to discuss this with your teams. Everything. Don't leave out a single detail. They must know what they are dealing with. If they ask about Naruto's status as a container, give them hints, but don't say it outright. There are events in motion that center around the Chunin exams. I have it on good word that Naruto's burden will not stay secret much longer. So please spare your students the lies that the civilian council will spread and allow them to form a clear opinion of Naruto. That is all. Dismissed. Sir, for voices called before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Flashback end. And that's about it. It's been done so that when your burden is made public knowledge, your friends will defend you. There may even be more people who convert to your side after my announcement of your burden, as I plan to open your medical records to the general public, allowing the village to know all you have been put through at their hands. Naruto's face paled rapidly, and he started hyperventilating. Naruto, my boy, calm down, this must be done. Naruto. Getting his fear under control, he shakily asks, even that one time, Hokage-sama? The Sandaime looks at Naruto seriously and nods ever so slightly. Standing suddenly, Naruto says, Jiraiya, I've got to go. I'll meet you back at the hotel. I need some time to think. He disappears in a swirling column of blue flames. Very worried, Jiraiya then asks, Sensei, what did Naruto mean by that one time? What causes him so much stress? Sighing deeply, the Sandaime reached into the bottom drawer and pulled out a bottle of sake and 2 saucers. Have drink, Jiraiya. You're going to need it. Jiraiya drinks. It's that bad. Shaking his head sadly. No, I'm afraid it was much worse. The event Naruto was talking about was the time he was raped, then beat near to death by several villagers. Dear Kami, I never knew. Why did this have to happen? With a sick feeling in his stomach and hands shaking in rage, he throws the saucer aside and takes a swig from the bottle. What happened? Rape scene start. He was 9 at the time. They cornered him in an alley and knocked him out. When he came to, he was strapped to a coffee table. Naked. He was begging to be set free, saying he had been a good boy, but then she comes in. She starts saying how she is going to make the demon feel good. She won't enjoy it, but she wants power. She thought any demon offspring would be the birth of a new Kekkei Genkai. After going for a couple hours, Naruto was spent, and the woman felt she had received enough of the demon's seed for a child. So she then proceeded to make sure nobody else could do what she had done with him again and stabbed him in the scrotum, severing the nerves and tubing there. From there, he was tortured for several hours, until the bitch had enough and tossed him out into a back alley. All the while he was drugged to stay awake, so he could feel everything. Taking a deep breath and swig from the bottle, the Sandaime continued. It was a few hours before the villagers found him. Still under the effects of the drugs, they proceeded to have some fun and left him with half his bones broken and bleeding to death. When the ENBU found him later, he was covered in urine and blood. When he was brought to the hospital, the full extent of the damage was revealed. 64 broken bones, a ruptured spleen, collapsed lung, a cracked skull, broken nose, black eyes, lacerations to 70% of his body, and his reproductive system was completely destroyed. Rape scene end. Sighing deeply. It took 3 weeks full of surgeries. However, if the QB had not helped him, there was no way he would have survived. It was the only time the doctors and QB worked in tandem. The doctors set the bones and QB mended them. They rebuilt his reproductive system, and the QB healed it and made it functional again. If he was bleeding too much when repairing his internal organs, the QB lessened the flow. They cleaned and disinfected the wounds and lacerations, and QB stitched the skin back together. It was a miracle that he survived. After all the wounds were healed and sealed up, Naruto was placed in a medically induced coma for 3 weeks. Why so long, Sensei? Every day we sent in a Yamanaka to try and identify the woman and other attacks, but the mental defenses were too strong. They could not access it to see it, or suppress it to help with Naruto's recover. He will forever be haunted by that night. I could never get him to talk about who he saw. I know for a fact he knows who the woman was. If you should ever get him to identify this woman during your time with him, I beg you, Please let me know so I can punish them for it. I promise, Sensei. This is a trying night for him. I still have to tell him about his parents. I planned it tonight, but I should probably wait until tomorrow, though. I don't think he could handle it right now. Good night, Sensei. Jiraiya vanishes in a swirl of leaves to go search for Naruto. Chapter 6. Revelations and Rewards. Naruto and Jiraiya are currently in the Hokage's office discussing the upcoming invasion plot that had been discovered by Naruto. Flashback. Last night, after Naruto left, Naruto was currently jumping across rooftops trying to clear his head and come to grips about what the Sandaime is going to do. I can't believe Gigi is going to tell them about that. I never wanted anyone to know. The only person I ever told was Haku-chan. Now everyone is going to know. Naruto's musing was interrupted as he detected a spike in chakra to the east of him. What is that? There is nobody training this late. Even if there was, the training grounds are in the opposite direction. Deciding to see what is happening, he moves towards the source. Upon arriving, he finds the proctor of the second exam, Gekko Hate, engaged in battle with the Jonin sensei of the Sand siblings. Quickly realizing this is no friendly battle after seeing the Suna Jonin narrowly be decapitated and retaliate with some sort of wind technique, Naruto decides to intervene. Drawing on small amount of demonic chakra, he flashes through hand signs and mutters, Kitsune no Sakaku, Kajino Kuku, Kitsune illusion, cloak of shadows, to hide himself from sight and sneak up on the Sand Jonin. He comes up silently behind the Jonin during his gloating and pulls out a kunai and bashes him in the back of the head with the butt of the knife, knocking him unconscious. The danger past, he drops the illusion and rushes over to the coughing leaf Jonin, who is losing blood fast and on the verge of passing out. Seeing the leaf Hitaiate on his left arm, he manages to force out before losing consciousness. Spy. Yakushi. Suna. Odo. Allies. Invasion brief coughing fit during the finals. Warn. Hokage-sama. That is all he manages to say before losing consciousness. Still alive, however barely, he starts putting pressure on the wounds and flares his chakra to let someone know of his position. Feeling the chakra spike, a squad of ANBU on patrol suddenly appears. The squad takes in the scene while the leader, a female with purple hair and a cat mask, notices the wounded man and shouts, Hi-8 Kuin, and immediately rushes and shoves Naruto out of the way to apply emergency first aid. Two other Yanbiyu move to secure the Suna Jonin, while another Yanbiyu, a tall man in a bear mask, walks over to Naruto and says, Report. What happened here? Naruto starts to explain, but before he can start, Jiraiya arrives. Taking in the scene, he asks, Naruto, are you all right? What happened? I was just getting ready to tell Bear-san here that, but I would recommend we go see Hokage-sama about this. It's very important. Realizing the seriousness of the situation if Naruto calls his Gigi, Hokage-sama, Jiraiya looks to the bear-masked ANBU and nods, and all three disappear in their respective shunshin towards the Hokage's office. Upon arrival, the trio is noticed by the Hokage, and seeing the serious looks on Jiraiya and Naruto's face, as well as the presence of the ANBU, Sarutobi immediately moves into Hokage mode and snaps out, Report. The duo looks at Naruto, and he steps forward and gives a brief summary of all that happened. Flashback end. Sighing at his desk, the Sandaime says, an invasion during the Chunin exam finals with Odo attacking and Suna breaking the alliance with Konoha and helping. So that is what my former student was planning. Nodding, Jiraiya remarks, we always knew that Snake Team would try to take revenge on you for passing him over for the title of Hokage. The Bear Yanbiyu speaks, Hokage-sama, we must make preparations. We have the Suna Jonin currently locked in the ANBU holding cells, and if Gekko-san's words are interpreted correctly, we have a spy in our midst named Yakushi. Naruto then speaks up. He must have been talking about Kabuto. He was in the exams with us and had all these fancy info cards that had a lot of information on everybody there. He had this creepy aura around him that made me nervous. Growing up like I did, I learned how to read people, and let me tell you, when Kabuto looked at me, shudders, it was like he wanted to dissect me or something. The Sandaime, nodding, says, we have received reports of strange behavior on the part of Kabuto lately. You're probably right there, Naruto. Turning to the ENBU, Bear, gather a squad and assemble the clan heads and be discreet about it. We have to make plans on what needs to be done. Bring Danzo as well. He will find this out sooner or later, so he might as well be here. Jiraiya frowns at hearing Danzo's name, but says nothing, seeing merit in the statement. Hi, Hokage-sama. It will be done. The ENBU shunshins away to carry out the Sandame's orders. Turning back to Naruto. Thank you for coming forward with this, Naruto. Also, thank you for saving young Hayate-san. If it wasn't for you, we might never have known this until it was too late. Now we can properly prepare for this. Now the clan heads are arriving soon. Normally you would not be present, but seeing as you are Jiraiya's apprentice and this information was brought forward by you, I will allow you to stay, but I ask you to be silent unless spoken to and show respect to the clan heads and Danzo. This changes our plans for you slightly. I did not plan to reveal you until later, especially to Danzo, but we have no choice now. I have to warn you, be wary of Danzo. I don't know what he might try against you. Bowing, hi Hokage Gigi. Naruto then moves to the side of the office as the clan heads begin arriving. Eventually the office was filled with the sleepy clan heads. Akimichi Chuza, Yamanaka Inoichi, Narashikaku, Aburame Shibi, Hyuga Hayashi, Inazuka Tsum, and Shimura Danzo, all with a puzzled look on their face upon seeing Naruto and Jiraiya there, especially with Naruto's new look and features, but put it aside seeing the serious expressions on their faces. The Hokage then activates the privacy seals in his office. Stepping forward, Danzo is the first to speak. Hiruzen, why have you called us here in the middle of the night? Also, why are Jiraiya and Uzumaki here? That will be revealed shortly, Danzo. First off, I want everyone here to know everything you hear during this meeting is classified information dealing with the survival of the village. This has the effect of snapping all assembled out of their sleep-induced stupor. Seeing them all paying attention, the Hokage decides to begin. Approximately 45 minutes ago, Naruto-kun left my office after a short discussion between him, Jiraiya, and myself regarding the results of his training. While traveling through the village, he feels a chakra spike and deciding to investigate, comes upon a battle between Gecko Hade and the Suna Jonin, Baki. After interfering and consequently saving Hayate-san's life, he found out about an invasion by Suna and Odo, led by Orochimaru, that is going to occur during the finals of the Chunin exams. Everyone's eyes widen at this news and Hayashi asks, I can see why you called us Hokage-sama, but why not assemble the full council to inform them? Acknowledging the question, Hayate-san's information ousted a spy, one Yakushi Kabuto. I am certain that he is gaining information through the civilian council. I am just not sure how yet. That is why I asked you all use discretion when leaving for here tonight. Shikaka speaks, troublesome. So I assume we are here to come up with a plan of action. Yes, this meeting is a war council, as we will soon dash. An ANBU then shunshins into the office and freezes upon seeing it fully occupied, but shakes it off and says, Hokage-sama, urgent information in a missive intercepted for Baki from Suna regarding a betrayal and invasion of the village. Report. Hi. As you know, we are holding Baki in the ENBU headquarters and intercepting any and all messages between Suna and their village's representatives here. Apparently, the Kazekage has been killed by Orochimaru. A Jinnin team discovered the Kazekage's corpse along with his bodyguards. Their faces were missing, and it was discovered they were killed by a potent snake venom. Everyone is blown away at this. The Sandame says, this changes everything. Thank you, Sparrow. You are dismissed. Do not tell anyone else about this. There are spies in the village, and we don't know how deep they are buried. Hi, Hokage-sama. The ENBU shunshins away. Jiraiya speaks. So Suna was tricked into attacking us by Orochimaru. We can use this to our advantage and have Suna on our side without Orochimaru finding out, and when he starts the invasion, he will get a nasty surprise. Some speaks. So what are we going to do about the snake trader? The Sandame. I know my old student very well. He probably has two goals for this invasion. Kill me and cause as much damage to the village as possible. It's time I finished what I started, so I will fight Orochimaru. Danzo. No offense, Hiruzen, but you are not in your prime anymore. If you fight Orochimaru, he may very well win. What do you suggest I do? There is no way I can send somebody in my place. Except for Jiraiya, nobody would be strong enough. Even if we tried to substitute myself with him, the Kage box has chakra disruptors that detect and dispel any hinge or jinjutsu, so it would be impossible to disguise him. I may be able to help with this kit. Step forward and summon me. They are all going to find out sooner or later. Stepping forward, Naruto addresses everyone. That may not be true. I may have a solution, or rather, my tenant does. All eyes turn to Naruto, wondering what he means. Turning to the Hokage, he asks to speak with everyone. They were going to find out sooner or later. Eyes narrowing in suspicion, Danzo says, "What is the boy talking about, Hiruzen? How could the QB speak to us?" Sighing deeply, the Hokage decides to explain. "I'm sure you all have noticed Naruto's new features. There is a reason behind them. Some of you may know that Orochimaru encountered Team 7 in the Forest of Death. In the process, he placed a Gogyo Fuin on Naruto. When Jiraiya removed it several weeks ago, he and Naruto were pulled into the seal and met the fox. They worked out a deal, and this is part of it. I'm sure QB can explain the rest. Do not overreact. Everyone is completely safe." Turning to Naruto, he says, "Go ahead." Walking forward, Naruto asks, "Some room, please." Everyone rather nervously steps back. Unraveling the bandages on his left arm, revealing the fox tattoo there, Naruto channels a small amount of demonic chakra, making everybody even more nervous, swipes some blood across the seal, and shouts out after slamming his hand on the ground, "Oni Kuchios no Jutsu." A small cloud of smoke appears, and after it clears, QB, the size of a large dog, with 9 tails waving behind it, appears. Before anyone can panic, he raises one paw and says, "Do not fear. I mean no harm to you at the moment. I simply wish to speak to you all." Danzo, with narrowed eyes, asks, "How are you out of the seal, and what do you mean you wish us no harm? You attacked the village before. What is stopping you from doing it again?" "I deserve your suspicions, human. What you don't know is that I was under a jinjutsu when I attacked. I was ripped out of my previous container and had my will subjugated by a Mangekyo Sharingan." Inoichi shouts, "Impossible. The only one who could do that was Uchiha Madara, and he died over 100 years ago." "You are wrong, human. That blasted Madara is still alive. A shell of his former self, but still alive. He bears the final level of the Sharingan, the eternal Mangekyo, which grants the bearer a form of my immortality. I know this because I am the one who created it." Eyes widening at this information, Chuza speaks. "You gave the Sharingan to the Uchiha clan?" Nodding, "Yes. Did you think that any force beyond my creation would be able to subjugate me? But we are getting off topic. I did not intentionally attack this village." End of story. The Sandame nods. QB is correct. Naruto said that you had a suggestion. "Yes, I do. You said that you would not be able to disguise the perverted hermit due to seals that disrupt chakra. I can override that and cast a kitsune illusion on him." Shibi pushes his sunglasses further up his nose and stoically says, "I'm assuming this illusion utilizes a different method. Seeing as how the seals disrupt human chakra, logic dictates that the assumption of your own demonic chakra not being affected. The one who smells of insects is correct. I have been teaching the kit here kitsune illusions. The one I'm speaking of is similar to your hinge, however it is solid and virtually impenetrable. I can cast this onto the perverted hermit, and he will be able to take the old monkey's place, while he sees to the defense of his village." Shikaku sighs and says, "Troublesome, but it would work. If QB's word is to be believed, we would be able to successfully switch Sandame-sama with Jiraiya-sama with no one being the wiser." Sum, still skeptical, growls out, "Why should we trust the QB with this? For all we know, it could be lying." Growling lightly, "I know about your clan Inuzuka. You understand the concept of honor unlike most humans. Unlike you all, I am not human. I am a demon, and a demon has honor. So if I say something is true, it is true." Hesitant, but understanding, the Inuzuka head says, "I suppose you're right." Sarutobi, addressing the fox, says, "So it is decided. We will use QB's plan. Thank you for your help. I will ask Naruto to summon you when we need you." Nodding, the QB vanishes in a red haze. Danzo, still curious, says, "While this has been an enlightening experience, I still fail to see why you requested my presence, Hiruzen." Addressing the rest of the crowd, Sarutobi says, "This meeting has served its purpose for now. If I keep you any longer, your families may notice you are missing." All except Danzo and Jiraiya are dismissed. "I want our Jonin commander, Shikaku, to draw up defense plans and have it on my desk by tomorrow." All the clan heads say, "Hi, Hokage-sama," and disappear in a shunshin. Jiraiya says, "Naruto, meet me back at the hotel. There is something I need to talk to you about after I am done here." "Okay, Jiraiya-sensei," and he disappears in a swirling column of blue fire. Turning to Danzo with a hard face, "Now that we are alone, I'm going to speak plainly here, Danzo. I want your root ANBU." Eyes narrowing, Danzo replies, "You know Yondaime-sama ordered it disbanded. I know nothing of root anymore." "I said speak plainly, Danzo. I know you did not disband your root organization after the Yondaime ordered it. Do not try to deny it. I've known for years." Eyes widening slightly, but nodding, "Very well. I see there is no point in denying it. But why now?" "I allowed it because I know, despite your questionable and sometimes despicable methods, you have the best interests of the village at heart. I knew you could take care of things from the shadows, while I was the public figure. You would take the jobs that no one else would and leave no trace. I do not like your methods, so I turned a blind eye as long as you never decided to work against the village. I know a lot of your secrets, Danzo." He looks pointedly at his bandaged arm and eye. Slightly nervous and paling slightly, Danzo says nothing, but his expression shows his surprise. "Yes, I admit I was horrified when I discovered the information. Collaborating with Orochimaru to desecrate the grave of our sensei, Hashirama, for his DNA, steal Uchiha Shirsue's eye, and the eyes of other Uchiha the night of the massacre, I was sorely tempted to end your life, then and there. To have gone so far to fight against death and obtain the power of the Biju was disgusting to me. However, no matter how much my own morals screamed at me, I take the job of Hokage very seriously. I know sometimes that decisions have to be made that will be for the good of the village. So, I again turned a blind eye because I knew, as sickening as it was, we still needed you to operate from the shadows." Danzo simply asks, "How did you find out?" Jiraiya steps forward with a dark look on his face and says, "He found out from me when I found documentation of the procedure at one of Orochimaru's bases." "So you are blackmailing me?" Frowning, the Sandaime says, "I was not planning on this, Danzo, but my hand has been forced. I'm sure you can understand. Some of the things you have done could be considered treason, but at the moment you are a necessary evil." Nodding, Danzo says, "There is nothing I would not do for the good of the village. I'm glad you still recognize that despite your peace-loving ways, our methods may be different, but we do have a common goal, the continued protection and prosperity of Konoha. What is it you need me to do?" "Like I was saying, I need your root ANBU. There is much corruption in this village, especially on the council. They are blinded by greed and power. I have no doubt they would sell out this village and anyone in it just to fill their pockets with money. For now, there is not much I can do. I have plans in motion, though, that will slowly turn the balance of power back in favor of the Hokage position. Using their power, they have committed numerous crimes and covered it all up, all while weakening the village as a whole. It honestly would not surprise me if some on the council were helping Orochimaru in this invasion." Nodding in agreement, Danzo says, "I am aware of this. They have several people in government positions in their pocket, ready to do their bidding. However, there is much happening you may not know. I've been compiling proof of their crimes for quite some time to use as blackmail. Perhaps it's time to use it. I want to try my plan first, but if it does not work, I will use your proof. I want to change the village as a whole and remove its corruption, not simply replace one corrupt leader with another. Your plan might cause that." "What is your plan exactly?" "I cannot tell you that. I may need you, but I don't necessarily trust you not to try and subvert my movements. I will tell you it involves Jiraiya and Naruto and certain secrets that will soon be made public." "Very well. However, that surely is not all you need my root for. What else is there?" "You are correct. I am sure the council has taken advantage of the amount of paperwork I've had to do over the years to slip a few decrees through that benefits them in some way. I want at least 6 of your root to go over every decree or law made since Minato died, and I resumed my title as Hokage. I want to find out how much has slipped through the cracks. Jiraiya speaks. That is a wise idea, Sensei. There is no telling how much they have tried to take advantage of you over the years. Nodding, Danzo says, indeed. You have gone soft in your old age, Hiruzen. It would not surprise me. What do you want me to do about the invasion? I want you to covertly reinforce the village's defenses. I want at least 2 root in every department regarding the village's security to report any leaks to you and fix them. I also want several root and my trusted ANBU to search out any and all spies in the village. I want them all found. Either get them to turn on their employers and work for us, or quietly eliminate them. I want no evidence found linking their disappearance to the village. Finally, before the fighting starts, I want you to quickly and quietly kill as much of the sound ninja in and around the village as you can. The less forces Orochimaru has to work with, the better. Very well, Hiruzen, it will be done. Is there anything else you require? Shaking his head, no, my old friend. That is all. You are dismissed. Bowing slightly, very well. I will begin my tasks immediately. Walking out the door, he stops and gives some parting words. And Hiruzen, it is good to see your will of fire still burns. With those words, Danzo leaves. After the door is shut, Jiraiya sighs. I don't like this, Sensei. You are giving Danzo too much power. It may turn around and backfire on you. I don't plan to let him think he can do whatever he wants. I will have him watched. But I don't think he will betray me now. We may not like each other very much, but we both care for the village more than anything. Shaking his head slightly. Just be careful, Sensei. Danzo will not always be on your side. I'm going to go back to Naruto. I've been meaning to tell him about his parents for a while now. It's time he knew. With that, Jiraiya vanished in a swirl of leaves. With Naruto. Naruto was reading a scroll on ceiling while waiting for Jiraiya to show up, but he was having trouble concentrating. What troubles you, kid? I can feel your inner turmoil. I'm worried about Gigi. Do you think this plan of yours will work? Will we be able to survive this invasion? Don't worry, kid. The monkey may be old, but he is still Hokage. He will ensure the village will survive this. Yeah, you're right. I wonder what it is that Ero Sennin wanted to talk to me about. It sounded pretty important. Looks like you're about to find out. He is here. Hey, Ero Sennin. Did the meeting go okay? Sitting down in front of Naruto, Jiraiya sighed and said, as well as it could go. I really hate politics sometimes, though. Nodding in understanding, but still curious. So what is it you wanted to talk to me about? It sounded important. It is Naruto. I just asked that you keep a clear head with what you are about to find out. Everything that was done to protect you. Growing serious, what are you talking about? Staring Naruto in the eyes, he says, it's time you knew about your parents. Naruto's heart skipped a beat. He then shakily asks, Am my parents? You knew them? Nodding, yes, I did, Naruto. I promised them when you grew old enough and strong enough, I would give you their legacy. Who were they? Your mother's name was Uzumaki Kushina. Your father was Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage. Eyes wide and skin paled, Naruto asks in a near whisper, I'm the son of the Yondaime? The one who sealed the fox inside me was my own father? Nodding, Jiraiya unsealed 2 large scrolls from seal on his wrist and sets them down in front of Naruto. The one wrapped in a red ribbon is from your mother. The one wrapped in a yellow ribbon is from your father. With shaking hands, Naruto grabs the scroll from his mother first. Recognizing the blood seal, he bites his thumb and drops some blood on the seal. Nervously, he opens the scroll and begins to read. My dear Sochi-san, my name is Uzumaki Kushina, Konoha's Kai Chishio no Habanero, red hot-blooded habanero, second Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Kitsune, last princess of Whirlpool, and most importantly, your mother. There is so much I want to tell you, but I don't have much time left. My strength is fading from having the Kyubi forcefully removed. I'm so sorry I will not be able to be a part of your life. I know of Minato-kun's plan to make you the next Kyubi Jinchuriki. I want to say I'm so sorry you have to bear such a burden. I know how life as a Jinchuriki can be. I know you will be strong, Naruto. You are a hero to everyone in the village, even if they refuse to believe it. At the bottom of this letter are two things I want you to have. The first is the Uzumaki Book of Seals. This book contains all of the collective knowledge of Uzumaki Fuinjutsu that has been passed down through the royal family, with each generation adding something to it. I leave this to you with the hopes you will eventually grow and end up adding your own parts to the book. Use it well. The second is the Uzumaki family sword, the Uzushio no Tamashii, Soul of the Whirling Tides. This is a very special sword. It is semi-sentient that bonds with the wielder. Only someone of Uzumaki blood that the sword chooses will be able to wield it. To bond with the sword, you must kneel on the ground, while gripping the sword by the hilt and holding it with the tip facing the ground. Place your forehead against the hilt and enter a meditative state. The sword will then see if you are worthy by reading your inner being. If successful, the sword's shape will change to reflect its wielder's soul. Bear it well and make the Uzumaki ancestors proud. It seems I'm out of time. Remember, I loved you more than anything in the world. You were the light of my life and a symbol of all that was good in the world. I love you so very much, Sochi. I'll be watching over you from above. Also, keep an eye on your godparents. Keep Tsunade from drinking too much, and give Jiraiya a good kick in the balls for peeping. Your mother. Uzumaki Kushina. Setting the letter down, he then picks up his father's scroll. Opening it, he reads, Naruto. If you are reading this, you have proved yourself strong enough to bear the burden of my legacy. My name is Namikaze Minato, Konoha's Kiroi Senko, Yellow Flash, the Yondaime Hokage, and a very proud father to you. I write this even as I'm holding you in my arms, preparing to use you as a sacrifice. I want to say I'm so incredibly sorry for what I have to do. But, as Hokage, there is no way I could ask someone else to give up their child, while I spare my own. I know sealing the Kyuubi in you will make your life miserable, but I know you are strong. I know you will be able to use the Kyuubi's power for the good of the world. I have faith in you. It pains me terribly to have to leave you, but I want you to know you are a hero. I know your mother left you some gifts, so what kind of father would I be if I did not do the same? At the bottom of this scroll are the two jutsu that made me famous, the Rasengan and Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. Learn them and use them to protect all who are precious to you. It's time for me to go. Before I do, however, I have to warn you. Beware the masked man with the Sharingan eye. He is a very dangerous man. He is the one who ripped the Kyuubi out of Kushina-chan. He has sinister plans, and I fear for the world should he succeed. Live well, and always know I'll be watching over you. I love you so very much. Your father. Namikaze Minato. Crying unabashedly now, Naruto chokes out in a voice thick with sadness, but at the same time, great joy. They really loved me. I wasn't abandoned. I had a family and parents who wanted me. Turning to Jiraiya, who is watching Naruto carefully. So I guess I get to call you Jiraiya-tosen now, Godfather. Reaching over to grip Naruto in a hug, he starts soothing him. I guess so, godson. I also plan on finding Tsunade after this business with the invasion is over. We'll be a family. I promise. Now let's get some sleep. If I know you, you're probably itching to test out the stuff your parents left you. Hee, I suppose you're right, Jiraiya-tosen. Good night. Chapter 7. Final Preparations. The next morning, with Naruto and Jiraiya. We currently find Naruto and Jiraiya in the living room of the hotel, talking about the revelations of the previous night. So Naruto, how are you feeling this morning? You had a lot dumped on you last night. Looking out the window towards the Hokage monument, specifically his father's head, Naruto gains a content smile on his face and says, I feel great, Naruto-tosen. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders now that I know who my parents were. I was always told my father was some crooked drunk who killed himself somewhere, and my mother was a no-name whore who spread her legs for a quick Rio and then overdosed on drugs. I was told I was abandoned because nobody would want a demon spawn. Knowing what I know now, I simply feel happiness and relief. Looking at Jiraiya now, plus I still have some family around. You and this Tsunade woman are my godparents. You don't know how much I always wanted a family, a real family. Now I have it, and I am happier than I have ever been. Smiling gently, but feeling the need to ask, so you don't hate your father for sealing the fox in you? or me and Tsunade for not being there for you in your life. Shaking his head, Naruto says, "No, I can understand my father's reason. If I was in his place, I would have done the same thing. I know you probably tried your best. But between keeping this village safe with your spy network and the council probably blocking every single attempt to get close to me, I can see how you did not have much time for me. But you're with me now, and that is what matters." Taking a contemplative look, "I don't know about Tsunade yet. You said she left the village in grief when she heard my mother died, who was really the only thing keeping her there in the village after losing her brother and fiancé. I would not put it past the council to have said I had died either. She might not even know I'm alive. I'll just have to find her and decide then." Proud of his godson's reasoning, Jiraiya smiles and says, "That's a very mature outlook, Naruto. You are really growing up." "Hehe, I guess I am. Will you be able to help me with any of the things I got from my parents?" Shaking his head, Jiraiya responds, "I can help you with the Rasengan, but that is it. Your father was better at seals than I was thanks to your mother, and most of the Hiraishin is beyond my ability to understand. I'm afraid I'm not much of a Kenjutsu user, so I will not be able to help you with your sword. We'll have to find you a teacher after we leave. Reading scrolls can only go so far. The Book of Seals I'm a little uncomfortable with. That is your clan's history and prize techniques. It would not be appropriate for me to read it. I feel that is something best learned on your own. I will help look over any seals to correct your mistakes, but I think it's best if you do it yourself." Nodding in understanding, Naruto says, "Not a problem, Otosen. Do you have any suggestions of what I should start on first?" Giving it some thought, Jiraiya responds, "I would start on your mother's sword. If you get this bonding ritual done soon, you would be able to take it to the finals. Right now you still have the practice sword, but you need a real blade." Grinning eagerly, "Okay, it sounds like a plan. What should I do with the other stuff?" Growing serious, Jiraiya says, "It is imperative that we keep the Book of Seals and your father's jutsu out of the wrong hands. If it is all right with you, I would like to take your father's scroll and keep it on me until we leave. I will put a storage seal on your arm keyed to your blood that you can keep the Book of Seals in. Let's take care of it now while we have some time, and then you can go work on your sword." Naruto nods and goes and grabs the scrolls. Handing his father's scroll to Jiraiya, who tucks it away, Naruto releases the storage seals on his mother's scroll. A long wooden case with the Uzumaki clan's symbol etched on it appears, as well as a large book, also emblazoned with the Uzumaki crest, appears on the table. "Okay, Naruto, hand me your arm, and we'll get the storage seal out of the way. This might be a little uncomfortable." Naruto does as asked and holds out his arm. Holding a finger out, Jiraiya mutters Shikoku Fuin, finger carving seal, and it starts glowing. Naruto winces slightly when Jiraiya presses it against Naruto's skin as he then proceeds to draw the seal. Finishing after a minute or so, Jiraiya says, "All right, Naruto, add a little blood and we are done." Naruto does so, and the seal glows slightly before fading into black on his arm, looking like a tattoo. Seeing it complete, Naruto then seals the book away. Grinning, "All right, we're done. Now I'm going to get this sword ritual taken care of. You can go and do whatever it is you need to do. I'm sure the women at the hot springs could use a punching bag for a bit." Immediately thinking about how it had been weeks since he got any research done, Jiraiya then proceeds to run off, giggling lecherously. Walking over to the case, he opens it to see a beautiful, yet simple katana. Remembering the directions in the letter, he picks up the sword and kneels on the ground, holding the sword in the way requested. He places his forehead against the hilt and starts to calm his mind. Unknown to him, the sword starts glowing with a bluish light as he feels a pull in his mind before he is assaulted by memories of his past in rapid succession. He sees flashes of the beatings he suffered at the hands of the villagers, images of himself in an orange jumpsuit proclaiming himself to be Hokage, flashes of all the important people in his life such as the Hokage, the Ichirakus, Iraka-sensei, Jiraiya, Haku, and even Kyubi. As the images flash by, the sword begins to change. The blade turns a bright silver color with a gold wrap near the base of the blade. The hilt is bronzed, with a fox head at the top making the blade appear to be coming from its mouth. The grip is a black leather, and the base of the hilt is capped off by a gold piece with the Uzumaki clan symbol emblazoned on it. surrounded by 9 red stones. The whole process takes around 20 minutes, and when Naruto opens his eyes, he is awed by the sword's new look, yet felt it was perfect as it was distinctly him. This is amazing. I've never seen a sword like this. It feels perfectly balanced and not too heavy. It's perfect. Picking up the sheath that was also in the box, he attaches it to the back of his coat and slides the blade home with the sound of metal against wood. Congratulations, Kit. The sword has accepted you. I'd recommend going to see the Hokage and see if he can get you some more Kenjutsu scrolls to practice with. That's a good idea. I can also find out if that hate guy is all right when I go see him. I might go see how he is doing at the hospital as well. Storing the case and his mother's letter in one of the many seals stitched in his coat, he then makes a hand sign and shunshins to the Hokage's office. Arriving outside the tower, Naruto decides to take a page from Jiraiya's book and jump in through the window. Appearing in his office with a "Hey Gigi," he then notices that the Suna Jonin from the other night is with the Hokage. Turning to him upon his entrance, the Hokage groans slightly. "Hello, Naruto-kun. I see you've picked up Jiraiya's habit of jumping through the window and interrupting my meetings. I hope you aren't planning on picking up on his favorite pastimes as well." Shaking his head rapidly, he says, "No way. I'm not going to go peek on girls. I'm not a pervert." The Suna Jonin decides to speak up. "Hokage-sama, may I ask who this is and why he's interrupting our meeting?" Turning to him, the Sandame says, "Ah yes. Introductions. Naruto-kun, this is Baki, the representative we have for Suna. Baki-san, this is Uzumaki Naruto. He's the one who interrupted your battle with hate last night." Bowing to each other slightly, the now identified Baki remarks, "So you're the kid that knocked me out? It takes a lot to sneak up on a Jonin undetected. Your stealth skills must be remarkable." Rubbing his head sheepishly, Naruto says, "I guess so. Nah, there are no hard feelings from last night, right? I was only trying to do my job and help Hayate-san." Shaking his head in negative, Baki replies, "No, there isn't. In fact, I'm glad you did. With what the Sandame has told me happened shortly after my capture, it would have made allying with Konoha much more difficult if I had killed a Konoha Jonin." Looking serious, "So you're helping us now that you know Orochimaru killed your Kazekage?" Nodding, "That is correct. Most of Suna was not wanting to invade Konoha in the first place, but we had to follow the orders of Kazekage-sama. We had no idea it was really Orochimaru in disguise. But now that the truth was revealed, when the time for the invasion starts, Suna will fight with Konoha. This deception will not be tolerated." Smirking now, Naruto says in a smug voice, "There is no way old Snakeface is slithering his way out of this one. I just hope I can get a blow in, 'cause I still got to pay him for putting that seal on me." Startled, Baki asks, "Orochimaru gave you a cursed seal? How are you fighting its effects?" "Oh no, not that seal. My stupid teammate Sasuke team is the one that got that cursed hickey. I got a Gogyo Fuin placed over my seal." Naruto immediately realizes he might have said too much, and his suspicions were confirmed when he saw the Sandame wince slightly and Baki's eyes narrow. "Your seal? So you're a Jinchuriki?" Sighing, "I don't think you were supposed to know that, but yeah, I am. I hold the QB." Eyes widening, Baki starts thinking, "This boy holds the QB? That is the most powerful Biju in existence. Our own Jinchuriki would not hold a candle to him. I am starting to be glad that we don't have to fight Konoha. I'm beginning to think we would have lost." "I see." Naruto now turns to the Hokage who has been watching their conversation. "Hey, Hokage Ajisen. I was wondering if you knew where I could get some more Kenjutsu scrolls. I've gone through all the ones I found already. Also, is that hate guy all right now? I wanted to go see him." The Sandame, thinking back on a conversation he held at the hospital, decides to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Flashback. Last night after the meeting. Walking into the hospital room, he is not surprised to see the purple-haired Anbu, now unmasked, sitting next to Hayate's hospital bed as he sleeps. The Hokage greets her. "Hello, Yugao-san. I trust Hayate-san is resting comfortably now." Nodding, the now named Yugao responds, "Yes, he is. His wounds were serious, but they were able to stabilize him last night. I came so close to losing him, Hokage-sama. I don't know what I would have done if I did." Sitting next to her with a hand on her shoulder, the Hokage says, You should not think about such things, Yugao. Hate is alive, and that is what matters. Nodding. Hi Hokage-sama, you're right. I was wondering, who was the boy who saved him last night? In my rush, I forgot to catch his name. I would like to thank him. That was young Uzumaki Naruto. He has changed a lot in a short time, so I'm not surprised you didn't recognize him. Surprised? That was Naruto? You aren't kidding about how much he has changed. I didn't recognize him without that ridiculous jumpsuit he always wore. Chuckling lightly. Yes, Naruto has decided to take his ninja life more seriously now. Turning to look at her with a twinkle in his eye. I heard he is now becoming an aspiring Kenjutsu user, but he does not have a teacher to help him right now, so he has just been practicing from some scrolls. Looking at the Hokage with a sly smile. That wasn't very subtle, Hokage-sama, but I would be happy to give him some pointers before the finals. Next time you see him, send him my way, and I'll see if I can help. Flashback end. I can actually do you one better, Naruto-kun. You see, Hayate's fiancé is a Kenjutsu user and has expressed interest in showing you a few things before the finals as repayment for saving Hate. Are you interested? Smiling, Naruto says, that would be great. I got to learn how to use my new sword anyway. Where can I find her? Smiling in a grandfatherly way, Sarutobi says, she is probably at the hospital spending time with Hate. He hates hospitals almost as much as you do and has to require a guard to make sure he doesn't sneak out the window. Much like you're prone to do. I'm sure she is free right now. All right, Gigi. Thanks for the help. Turning to Baki. It was nice meeting you as well, Baki-san. Bowing slightly, Baki responds, likewise Uzumaki-san. Naruto then vanishes in a swirling column of blue fire. Arriving at the hospital, Naruto uses a quick hinge to transform into a nondescript ANBU officer so as to avoid trouble and enters the hospital. Upon entering, he walks up to the receptionist and asks, where is Gecko Hayate's room? Looking up, the nurse notices the ENBU and says, Ambu-san, Gecko-san is in room 405. Nodding in thanks, Naruto walks off. Arriving outside the door, Naruto drops the hinge and knocks. Hearing an enter, he walks in and sees Hate and a woman he assumes to be Yugao in the room. Bowing in greeting, Naruto says, hello Hayate-san. Are you recovering well? Coughing slightly but nodding, Hate says, hello, Uzumaki-san. I hear it was you that saved me last night. I'd shake your hand, but I'm rather securely bound to the bed right now. Yugao then interjects with, it's your own fault, Hayate-kun. If you did not keep trying to escape, you would not be strapped to the bed. A frustrated look on his face, Hate says, come on, Yugao-chan. You know how much I hate hospitals. Yes, I know, but you are still stuck here, so deal with it. Turning to Naruto, Yugao asks, I assume Hokage-sama asked you to find me, correct? Nodding, Naruto responds, that is correct, Yugao-san. He said you might be interested in giving me some Kenjutsu pointers. Smiling slightly, that's right. It's the least I can do to repay you for saving my fiancé's life. Why don't you give me an hour and then meet me at Training Ground 17? I'll give you some pointers for the finals. Bowing again. Thank you for the opportunity, Yugao-sensei. I'll see you soon then. Ja-ni. Naruto vanishes with a shunshin towards the nearest hot spring to find Jiraiya and inform him what he is planning for the next few days. 45 minutes later. After searching all the public hot springs with no luck, Naruto is starting to get confused. I've checked all of the hot springs. Where is that pervert? I've got to meet Yugao-sensei soon. I know he said he was going to go peeping, but I checked all the bathhouses except. Palming his face, Naruto groans. Surely he did not go to that bathhouse. Not even he is stupid enough to try and peek there. Deciding to check anyway, he arrives shortly after at the Kunoichi only hot springs, and sure enough, he hears the telltale scribbling and perverted giggle. Knowing the consequences of being a male getting caught there, he creeps towards his godfather and tries to get his attention. Naruto nears the tree his godfather is in and whispers, Ero-senin. Ero-senin, get over here, I have to tell you something. His godfather decides to ignore him and makes a shooing motion with his hand. Ero-senin, I'm warning you. Get out of there, I need to talk to you. Without taking his eyes away, Jiraiya says, not now, Naruto. Can't you see I got some prime viewing material here? But this is the Kunoichi only hot springs. Do you want to get caught? Just go away, Gaki. I'm busy. Frustrated, he decides to teach Jiraiya a lesson, and with a vicious grin, Naruto says, I warned you, and disappears in another shunshin down into no man's land. In the bathing area, we currently find many of the most powerful Jonin and Anbu Kunoichi enjoying the hot springs when a swirling column of blue flames interrupted the peace. Upon seeing a boy appear, they prepare to unleash hell on the pervert when they notice it is Naruto, with his eyes firmly closed and covered, bowing deeply with his head close to the ground. After seeing all the women covered in towels, Kurenai decides to be the one to speak to Naruto. Everyone is decent, Naruto. Please raise your head and kindly inform us why you decided to enter the clearly stated Kunoichi only hot springs. Raising his head slightly and opening his eyes, he turns red in embarrassment at seeing all the towel-clad women, quickly turns around and decides to explain. I'm sorry for the intrusion, Kurenai-sensei. I knew these were the Kunoichi only hot springs. But before you decide to take away that which makes me a man, I want to say I am not being a pervert. I have great respect for women and would not dare violate their privacy by peeking. I just happened to be walking by when I noticed a man with long, spiky white hair giggling in the tree over there, currently peeking on you. Being the decent guy I am, I felt the need to inform you. All women present currently turn to said tree and notice a very pale Jiraiya, frozen in fear at his presence being revealed. Upon seeing Naruto was telling the truth, Kurenai says, Thank for informing us, Naruto. Also, thank you for not being a pervert. It's nice to see there are still some decent boys around. We will take care of this problem. Now please leave. You may not be peeking, but you are still a boy and you are not allowed here. Bowing towards the wall, Naruto says, You're welcome. I can't stand perverted people, so I'm glad I could help. I won't intrude anymore. Again, I'm sorry for the interruption. Naruto shunshins to a nearby building to watch the fireworks. A murderous aura surrounds the towel-clad Kunoichi, and they all say in unison, Oh, Jiraiya-sama, we will kill you. The air was filled with the agonized screams of one white-haired pervert as he received a beating reminiscent of the time he got caught peeking on his old teammate, Tsunade. After 5 minutes of constant jinjutsu, ninjutsu, and taijutsu combinations, Jiraiya was left in a smoking heap on the ground before Naruto appeared. I warned you, Ero-senin. I just wanted to tell you I'm going to be training until the finals with Yugao and my Kenjutsu, so I won't be home for a few days. Good luck, and I hope you learned your lesson. Naruto vanishes to Training Ground 17 to start his training. Training Ground 17. Naruto appears in a swirling column of blue flames to the sight of an irritated Yugao, who decides to say, I know you're on Kakashi's team, Naruto, but I do not want you to be late like him. Chuckling, Naruto says, I'm sorry, Yugao-sensei, I was held up. Naruto then proceeds to explain the incident at the hot spring to Yugao, who bursts out in laughter. Ha ha ha, that is funny. You actually went down into the Kunoichi hot springs and warned them about a pervert. You must have balls of steel to risk doing that. I suppose I can forgive you this time. Just don't do it again. Now let's get started. Pulling out her sword, Yugao says, I need to gauge your current skill level before I can start teaching you. Now come at me and don't hold back. Pulling out the Yuzushio no Tamashii and holding it in a reverse grip across his body, he sends a brief burst of chakra to deactivate his weights and resistance seal, then disappears in a burst of speed. Appearing above Yugao, Naruto slashes downward in a strike towards Yugao's neck only to have her own katana block the strike. Dashing away, he then appears in front of Yugao aiming for her sword arm, with the strike again being parried. Yugao then taunts him by saying, Come on, Naruto. Surely that is not all you have. At this rate, you won't be able to lay a scratch on me. Letting out a feral growl, Naruto charges in once again. Strike after strike being aimed at vital points, and every time he is blocked. This continues for several minutes with Naruto getting more and more frustrated. Seeing Naruto losing focus, Yugao decides to take advantage and swiftly moves in, knocks his sword out of his hand, and holding her own sword to Naruto's neck, thus signaling the end of the spar. Letting him go, Yugao steps back and lets Naruto retrieve his blade. After sheathing it, she then asks, "How did I beat you?" Still feeling frustration, Naruto says, "You're much faster than me and stronger. I couldn't even touch you." Shaking her head, Yugao says, "Wrong. You are slightly faster than I am. You are definitely stronger physically than me. Try again." Taking a deep breath, Naruto decides to replay the fight in his head. Eventually, though, it clicks. "I lost focus. I got too frustrated at not being able to hit you. I let myself get sloppy." Smiling, "That's right. Your emotions are running rampant while fighting, and it shows in your style. Your emotions are what took your focus away." Looking contemplative, "So I have to calm down and not let my emotions cloud my focus." Yes, in a duel between two equally skilled masters of the blade, the one who loses his focus, even slightly, is the one who will lose. You must focus entirely on the battle and let your instincts guide your movements. Ignore all outside distractions. If you lose focus, it won't matter how many styles you've mastered, how fast you are, or how strong you are. You will lose every time. Nodding in understanding, "I understand, Yugao-sensei." Standing up, Yugao says, "You may understand my words, but saying and doing are two different things. Now let's begin again." This process continued for the rest of the week, and Naruto ended up much better with a blade than when he started. While not an expert by any means, he was definitely comfortable wielding his blade, and he could make Yugao give a decent amount of effort to defend from his strikes, even landing the occasional cut or scratch. Leaving on the day before the start of the finals, Naruto began to make his final preparations for the exam and the upcoming invasion. All over the village, there were similar preparations being made for the upcoming battle until finally the day of the exams arrived. Chapter 8: Epic Battles and Secrets Revealed. There was electricity in the air. The village stadium was packed to the brim. Members of all the major clans, Hyuga, Inuzuka, Nara, Aburame, Yamanaka, and Akimichi, were there. Many of the villagers, the ruling families made of various nobles, and the Fire and Wind daimyo, all were there to see the finals for the Chunin exams. However, underneath the excitement, there was a tension in the air. Under the guise of increased security due to the increased foreign presence, preparations were being made for the coming battle. Various ANBU en route were scattered across the stadium and throughout the village, subtly preparing to turn the tide when the time came. All were ready to act on a moment's notice when the signal to start came. In the Kage box, we currently find Jiraiya, disguised as the Hokage, flanked by his two bodyguards Namishi Rado and Shiranui Gunma, greeting the Kazekage and his guard as they arrive. "Ah, Kazekage Dano. I'm glad to see you made it safely. How was the trip to the village?" The Kazekage, dressed in the traditional Kage robes and hat, except in white and blue and with the kanji for wind on the hat, with a veil across his face allowing only his eyes to be visible, responds, "It was uneventful, Hokage Dano. I'm just glad the exams took place in Konoha this year. With your advanced age, I would have been worried you would have been unable to make the trip. Perhaps it's time to retire and let the younger generation take over." The Hokage lets out a loud laugh and says, "I may be old, but there is still strength in these old bones yet. I'm sure I've got a good few years left." Inwardly, Jiraiya is thinking, "Make all the jokes you want, Hiroki team. Pretty soon the joke will be on you. Especially now that Naruto got the toads to help us again." Flashback. 4 hours ago. Looking down on his godson, Jiraiya starts, "Okay, Naruto. As my apprentice and eventual successor, I am allowing you to sign the toad contract. I also need you to convince them to help us during the invasion. They are not very happy with Konoha because of how you were treated." Pulling the large scroll off his back and unraveling it on the ground shows two names written in blood, Jiraiya and Namikaze Minato. Looking at the last name, Naruto remarks, "So the last summoner was my dad? I get to sign the same contract as he did. That's awesome. Let's do it." Chuckling lightly at his godson's enthusiasm, Jiraiya says, "All right. Sign your name in blood, then place your hand print below your name." After doing as asked, Jiraiya rolls the scroll back up and places it back across his back. "Now, Naruto, I want you to try and summon the biggest toad you can. The hand signs are boar, dog, bird, monkey, and ram." Channeling a massive amount of chakra that makes Jiraiya slightly nervous, Naruto flashes through the hand signs and slams his hand on the ground. Kuchios no Jutsu. A huge cloud of smoke appears, and a booming voice echoes over the clearing. Jiraiya, I thought I told you I did not want to be summoned. Now where are you so I can sit on you for not helping Minato's son? Oh no, not him. Why did I have to say the biggest toad he could? He just had to summon Gamabunta of all toads. Seeing Jiraiya's panicked look, Naruto decides to shout up to the now visible toad. Hey Gamabunta-sama, I'm the one that summoned you, not Jiraiya Otosan. Please don't sit on him. He may be a pervert, but he is my godfather and I need him. Looking down, Bunta says, You're Minato's brat? So Jiraiya let you sign the contract. You should know that we are refusing to help Konoha right now because of the way they treated you. It infuriated us when we found out, and we refuse to help out an ungrateful village who can't see that you're a hero to them. Nodding, I am aware of that, Gamabunta-sama. That is part of the reason why I needed to talk to you. There is going to be an invasion during the Chunin exam finals led by Orochimaru. We are going to need the Toad's help. Looking curious, you wish to continue protecting the village after what it has done to you? What? A serious look on his face, Naruto replies. They may treat me like dirt, but not all of them are bad. I made a vow to a dear friend of mine that I would always protect that which is precious to me. The villagers may not like me very much, but the village itself is still precious to me, and I will continue to protect it, as is my duty, as a shinobi of Konoha. As the sun shines in his eyes slightly, Bunta could swear he saw an image of Minato overlaid across Naruto, but when he blinked it faded. He is just like his father in wanting to protect the village. He will go far. Nodding, very well, Naruto. You and Jiraiya may call on us to aid the village when the time comes. We will make the necessary preparations. Good luck. Gamabunta then disappears in a puff of smoke. Flashback end. With a smile on the Hokage's face, oh yeah, the joke is definitely on you. Clapping his hands together, the Hokage says, well, it looks like it's time to start the exams. Getting up and walking to the end of the Kage box, the Hokage's voice booms over the stadium. Greetings and welcome to the third round of the Chunin exams. The final round will consist of a tournament of one-on-one battles to determine the overall winner. Fight well and with honor. I officially declare the start of the final round. Cheers erupt around the stadium as the Hokage returns to his seat and looks down at the competitors on the arena floor. Good luck, Naruto. Down in the arena. Down with the contestants. Everyone was looking in confusion at who the blonde guy in the trench coat, wondering who he is. Finally, it is Kankuro who decides to ask. Hey blonde guy, who are you? Did you get lost somewhere? This is where the competitors are. Turning and giving him a smirk on his face, he replies in a mischievous voice. You're telling me none of you recognize me? I'm hurt. It's me, Naruto. What happened next was not unexpected, but still funny to watch. Everyone's face simultaneously went through the same expressions: confusion, surprise, and then disbelief. All except Gaara and Neji, of course, whose eyes only narrowed, and Sasuke, who appeared to be missing. Those in the stands who heard were doing the same thing. Pretty soon, a collective "what?" sounded out. With a sweat drop, Naruto watches his classmates' reactions and asks, Come on, guys. Surely I have not changed that much. It's Shikamaru who sighs and replies in a lazy voice, Troublesome blonde. What did you expect? When we last saw you, you were a loud guy who was shouting constantly about ramen and wearing a bright orange jumpsuit that screamed, Here I am. Come kill me. Now you have new clothes, a new look, and you're quiet. You can't really blame us. I bet he is much stronger too. Man, this is so troublesome. I just want to go and watch the clouds. I don't care about becoming a Chunin. It's only because of that loudmouth, troublesome blonde screaming at me and Chuji that I'm here. Kankuro then interjects with a smirk. You were a real midget with a stupid-looking face too. Now it's everyone else's turn to sweat drop as we see Naruto suddenly appear crouched in a corner with a comically depressed look, drawing circles in the ground with a finger and a small cloud over his head that was somehow raining on him. If they were to listen closely, they would hear him muttering, I wasn't that short and my face was fine. And orange is an awesome color. What is wrong with orange? It's not my fault I like ramen either. Ramen is a gift from Kami. Why does everyone have to beat on ramen? What did ramen ever do to them? Poor ramen. Sweat drops growing. Most of the people are thinking along the lines of, yeah, that's Naruto all right. Suddenly, though, Naruto reappears next to them as the proctor, Mitarayashi Anko, starts speaking. All right, Gakis, now listen up and look here. The tournament has changed slightly. Here are the new matches. Holding up a piece of paper showing a tournament tree, the matches went as follows. Match 1, Uzumaki Naruto vs. Hyuga Neji. Match 2, Aburame Shino vs. Sabaku no Kankuro. Match 3, Narashikamaru vs. Sabaku no Temari. Match 4, Uchiha Sasuke vs. Sabaku no Gaara. Semifinals. Winner of Match 1 versus winner of Match 3. Winner of Match 2 versus winner of Match 4. Final match. Winner of Match 5 versus winner of Match 6. Got it memorized? Good. And no questions either. Now the rules are the same as the second round. Fight until your opponent is incapacitated or gives up, or I decide to stop the match. Killing is allowed but frowned upon. I will try to intervene to prevent a killing blow. So if I say stop, you stop, or I will disqualify you. I also noticed we are missing Uchiha Sasuke. If he does not show up, he will be disqualified. Up in the stands. Upon hearing that the Uchiha would be disqualified, most of the crowd, primarily those who support their precious Uchiha-sama, go into an uproar. You can't do that. He is an Uchiha. Yeah, I came to see the Uchiha win the tournament. However, the screeching of Sakura is heard over everything. You can't do that, you crazy snake whore. Sasuke-kun is the strongest and should just be declared the winner now, so he does not have to waste time on these weaklings. They should just promote Sasuke-kun now. In the arena, directing a small killer intent across the crowd, Anko shouts out, I am the proctor and my word is law. I don't give a damn if he's an Uchiha or not. This tournament is about showing the qualities of being Chunin, and if the brat can't show up on time, he does not deserve to become a Chunin. Now shut up and watch the tournament. Turning back to the competitors, all right brats, it's time for the first match. Everyone except Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Neji need to leave and go to the competitors' box. After clearing out, Naruto and Neji stood facing each other with loathing on their faces waiting for the match to start. Standing in between them, Anko raises her arm and slices it down while saying, the first match, Uzumaki Naruto versus Hyuga Neji. Hajime. She then jumps away to watch the fireworks. Naruto versus Neji. Moving into the opening stance of Jukin, Neji says in an arrogant tone, you should forfeit this match. Fate has declared me the winner. If you don't, I will not hesitate to show your inferiority to a genius. Again with the fake crap? What is up with this guy? Moving into his own stance, Naruto says, I swore I was going to hurt you for what you did to Hinata in the preliminaries. The way you berated her and broke her down was despicable, especially considering she is part of your own family. There is no way I'm going to give up. Activating his Byakugan, Neji smirks and says, then come. Gladly. Naruto rushes in a burst of speed and unleashes a quick flurry of punches aimed to beat Neji to a pulp. Failing in that, he jumps away and comes back with a quick kick from behind. Blocked again. Jumping away to reconsider his options, Neji starts his taunting some more. My Byakugan can see everything you baka. It does not matter where you attack from. Forming a familiar crosshand seal. Then let's see how you deal with multiple targets at once. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 8 Narutos appear and form a circle around Neji, who still has that infuriating smirk. No matter how many times you multiply, I will still win. Observe. Neji then flies towards the clones and starts unleashing Jukin Strike after Jukin Strike at the clones, who, while fighting back, still disappear after a solid hit. Finally landing a solid strike in the heart area on the Naruto in the back, who proceeds to cough out some blood. You see, while you sent your clones to attack me, I noticed you having more chakra than the others. I decided to humor you and get rid of your clones while saving you for last. I told you, fate has declared me the winner. Naruto then proceeds to smirk and says, shows what you know, you arrogant team. Bunshin Daibakua. Sensing the buildup of chakra, Niji panics slightly and jumps away just as the clone explodes. Meanwhile, with the rookies. Shikamaru, exploding clones? How troublesome. Shino, it seems Naruto's appearance is not the only thing that has changed. That was a Jonin-level move he just used. Hinata, Naruto-kun, be careful. Ino, Naruto might actually pull this one off. Sakura, no way. So what, he can make his clones explode? Naruto Baka is too much of a dope to do anything right. I bet Sasuke-kun could beat Niji in an instant. Kiba, yeah, alright. Rock Lee Yash, Naruto-kun's flames of youth are exploding in a huge display of youthfulness. Back at the battle, Niji managed to escape the explosion with only minor burns. Smirking, he says, nice try, but it didn't work. A voice sounds behind him. Oh really? It seems you did just what I wanted you to do. Naruto drops his illusion as his sword swings down towards Niji. Take this. No time to dodge. I'll have to use it. Channeling chakra through his tenketsu, Niji starts spinning and shouts out, Hakusho Kaiten, 8 trigrams palm rotation. A blue dome of chakra appears, blocking Naruto's blow and sending him flying. With the Hyuga up in the stands, the clan head, Hayashi, and the elders are astonished to see Niji, a side branch Hyuga, use one of the main house techniques. A small girl asks, Father? Isn't that? Yes, Hanabi. It seems Niji has somehow learned techniques of the main branch. Back with Naruto and Niji. Having landed on his feet, Naruto makes a mistake and rushes in to try and capitalize on the expected disorientation of such rapid spinning. However, not affected in the least, Niji sends Naruto flying back with small series of strikes that closed some tenketsu points in his leg. Do you see now? Fate is on my side and you are destined to lose. Oh yeah? Well, I'm not going to give up, so let's take it up a notch. Throwing a couple shuriken, Naruto calls out, Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and the number of shuriken quadruples. He then flies through a couple hand signs and calls, Futon, Daitapa, and the shuriken are now speeding towards Niji, who again uses the Kaiten to block. His skills have skyrocketed in such a short time. How? I've worked for years to get this strong, and I just barely defend. Angrily shouting out, how did you get so strong? You did not show near this level of skill in the preliminaries. A dead last like you should not be giving me, a prodigy, this much trouble. I trained hard, harder than I ever had before, because I finally got acknowledged by someone. Someone who saw my potential and decided to teach me properly for once. I told you, fate does not control anyone. Anyone can get strong if they do it for the right reasons, and I'll prove it to you. Angry at Naruto's words, Niji decides to end the match and drops into a stance that everyone Hyuga recognized and calls out, Hack Rokujion Sho, 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Rushing Naruto in a huge burst of speed, Niji starts striking Naruto's tenketsu in rapid succession. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms, 64 palms. Seeing Naruto staggering on his feet, he says, I have closed all of your chakra points. You lose. No way. I will still win. You have lost. Nobody can escape their destiny, not you and not me. Everybody's fate is predetermined. You were fated to be a loser, much like I was fated to be born in the branch family and serve the main house. Trying to buy time while he figures a way out of this, Naruto asks, what are you talking about? Main house. Side branch. What do you mean? Scowling, Niji says, you mean you don't know? Very well. I will enlighten you on the Hyuga clan's destiny of hatred. Untying his headband and removing the bandages around his forehead, Niji reveals a seal on his forehead. Pointing to it, this is the Hyuga Soke no Juinjutsu, Hyuga main family's cursed seal technique. This seal is branded on all branch house members in the Hyuga clan by members of the main house to protect the Byakugan so that its secrets never fall into the hands of the enemy. However, to those of us branded, it is nothing more than a slave collar used to force obedience to the main house. Using a single hand sign, A main house Hyuga can activate the seal, causing intense pain up to the point of death. Neji continues to tell his tale, talking about how his father died because of the branch family and his hatred for the main house, with Naruto growing more and more infuriated as Neji talks about how unfair life was for him, until he finally snaps at Neji's final statement. So do you see now? You could never understand my pain. You have no idea what it is like to be marked, a mark that causes people to look down on you, a mark that can never be wiped away. Trembling in fury, Naruto snaps out, I don't know. I don't know. I know more about being sealed than you could ever comprehend. Ripping off his coat and shirt, he forces open his tenketsu points, and then channels some chakra to make his own seal visible on his stomach. Look at it. Look at it. You say I don't understand, but I do. Do you have any idea what this curse is? What I am forever cursed to be. Shaken at Naruto's fury, Neji only shakes his head. The stadium is completely silent in the wake of Naruto's outburst. So when Naruto's voice drops from yelling to a low tone, full of malice and hatred, he is still clearly heard. I'm sure you know the story of the Kyuubi's attack on the village 13 years ago. Everyone knows how the Yondaime Hokage killed it at the cost of his life and saved our village. But that was a lie. A lie to cover up the truth and attempt to spare an innocent life forever condemned by their beloved Yondaime's actions. The entire stadium is hanging on to every word, and some flinch when Naruto starts to glare at the villagers in loathing. The truth of that night is this. A Biju is a living mass of chakra that cannot be killed. It will only disperse and reform later. So in order to save the village, the Yondaime decided to take a newborn baby. Confronting the Kyuubi, the Yondaime then summoned the Shinigami and used its power to seal the Kyuubi away at the cost of his soul into that baby. Guess who that baby was? Realization begins to dawn on everyone who did not already know the truth. That's right. It was me. I am the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. The last sentence is driven home as Naruto channels a massive amount of Kyuubi's chakra, entering his three-tailed state, throws his head back, and releases a beastly roar that shakes the village to its core. With a voice altered by demonic chakra, Naruto growls, "Do you see? I am forever cursed with this power. Every day I protect this village by holding the Kyuubi in my body. And what do I get for it? Nothing but anger and hatred directed towards me. All my life I have been tortured by the villagers because of what I contain. They don't see me for me. They see me as the Kyuubi in human form." Anger dissipating, the fox's chakra disappears, leaving only sadness in its wake. With tears in his eyes, he looks at Neji, who is shakily regaining his footing after falling when Naruto released the Kyuubi's power, and asks with tears streaming down his face, "Do you see, Neji? I can understand you more than you can imagine. You think your life is bad because of some mark on your forehead. Think about me and what I have gone through. The pain I've felt, the loneliness. You have family and love in your life. You grew up with everything I dreamed of having. I never knew happiness or love in my life until I met my best friend. Haku was a survivor of the Kiri bloodline purges and grew up in a life similar to my own. She understood my pain and I understood hers. We connected in a way I could never have imagined." A small smile crosses Naruto's face as he continues. "Haku brought me out of the darkness of my life. I will never forget it. She showed me, even in all the darkness and hatred of the world, there can be happiness and love. You need to find the same thing, Neji. You are on the same path I was, lost in your hatred and sadness, seeking a way to make your pain known to the world. You need to find your light, Neji, just like I did. You will find your life looking up, just like mine did." Knowing it is true, Neji asks in desperation, "How? I have nothing. Where would I find this light you're talking about?" Waving his arms slightly, Naruto asks, "Are you blind? Just look around you. Look at Hinata. Even though you tried to kill her, she still cares for you. Look at your teammates. Rock Lee treats you like a brother, and Tintin is in love with you. You've been so caught up with yourself you never noticed what you had around you." Eyes widening, he turns his gaze to where his teammates and Hinata are sitting in the stands. Hinata is smiling at him and nods. Rock Lee was giving him a thumbs up with his teeth shining in the sun, and Tintin, although bright red at having her crushed announced to the world, still gives Neji a large smile. He's right. How could I have been so blind to what I already had? Turning back to Naruto, he bows deeply and says, "Thank you, Naruto, for opening my eyes to the truth. For what it's worth, if you ever need my help, I will be there by your side and support you. I swear this on my eyes." Turning to the proctor, Neji says, "Proctor, I forfeit. I no longer see a reason to fight anymore. Even if I did, I would not win." Nodding, Anko raises her arm and shouts, "Winner by forfeit, Uzumaki Naruto." Loud boos erupt from the majority of the stadium, but there was some cheering mixed in, which stuns Naruto as he never expected to be cheered for. Working over his astonishment, a happy grin that seems to light up the stadium spreads over Naruto's face, and grabbing his discarded shirt and coat and putting them back on, leaves towards the competitor's box with Neji to watch the next match. In the Kage box, we find the Hokage currently beaming down at Naruto in pride. "Well done, Naruto. That speech of yours seems to have started changing the opinions of some of the villagers. I think I'm going to have to meet this Haku. She seems to have saved my godson's life. I think we're going to make a trip to Kiri after we find Tsunade. With the Hyuga clan." "You did well, nephew. I think it's time I reveal what really happened that night to you." Standing up, Hayashi says, "I will return shortly. I wish to speak to my nephew before the start of the next match." Making his way through the crowd, Hayashi eyes Naruto as he and Neji are walking out of the arena. "It appears I was wrong about you, Naruto. You are not the beast you contain. I can see that now." In the competitor's booth, greeting the new friends at the top of the stairs were Hinata, Rock Lee, Tintin, and Guy. Walking forward, Neji bows to them and says, "I'm sorry for how I have treated you all. Please forgive me." Smiling, Hinata whispers, "There is nothing to forgive, Neji Nizan." Rock Lee enters his trademark, "nice guy" pose and shouts. Naruto's words burn brightly with the ring of truth. "I'm glad to see your flames of youth have been restored. Guy-sensei, this calls for a celebration. When I get out of these casts, I am going to run 10 laps around the village on my hands. I will join you in your youthful endeavor, Lee. But let us make it 20 laps. That will stoke our flames of youth in blazing display of youthfulness." Hugging his larger clone tightly, much to the horror of everyone else present, the dreaded sunset Jinjutsu of youth appears. "Oh, Guy-sensei. Oh, Lee. Gi-sensei. Lee. Gi-sensei. Lu dash." Whacking them both over the head, Tintin shouts, "Will you two stop your infernal Jinjutsu? You are scarring everyone for life." Tintin then walks up to Naruto and gives him a hug. "Thank you for opening Neji's eyes. I don't know if he would ever have noticed." Grinning and rubbing the back of his head sheepishly, It was nothing, Tintin. I only did what I could to help." Tintin then proceeds to whack him on the back of the head, causing him to fall face first into the ground. "That was for revealing my feelings to everyone in the stadium, Yubaka." Turning red because she had basically just confirmed what Naruto said, she turns slightly red and shyly smiles at Neji. Also turning slightly red, Neji asks, "So it's true? You really do have romantic feelings towards me?" Blushing brightly now, Tintin nods, "Yes, I do. What is going to happen now?" Giving her a smile, Neji replies, "I'm not sure if I can return them yet. However, I would like to try. Would you like to go do something after the exams with me?" Eyes shining, Tintin loops her arm around Neji and says, "Yes, I'd like that very much. Why don't we go grab a seat and talk about it while we watch the rest of the tournament?" Nodding, Neji takes Tintin's hand and they both walk off to the stands. Anime tears running down their faces, Guy and Lee follow them shortly after shouting about the springtime of youth being a beautiful thing. Naruto then heads in the other direction, seeing as how he had to fight in other matches went and joined the rest of the competitors. Walking in the room, all eyes turned to Naruto with various expressions on everyone's faces. Shikamaru looked slightly sad, but unsurprised. Shino was as expressionless as ever. The only indication he acknowledged what he heard was the slight frowning of his eyebrows. Temari and Kankuro are switching between looking at Naruto in confusion and Gaara with fear. Gaara was currently gripping his head in pain while staring at Naruto with bloodlust apparent. Walking towards Shikamaru, he stops in front of him and asks, "How long have you known?" With a rare, serious look, Shikamaru replies, "I've known since the academy." Surprised at how long ago that was, Naruto asks, "How did you find out?" "There were enough clues if you were able to see them. The instructors calling you demon and the small glares sent your way when we went over the subject of the Kyuubi attack during history lessons were the big clues. The rest just sort of fell into place when I did some research." Looking curious and knowing what I contained didn't change your opinion of me? Shaking his head, "No, it didn't. I may act lazy, but I am very smart. I knew you were only the container of the Kyuubi, not the Kyuubi itself." Looking around and noticing Shino listening, but the Suna siblings weren't, Shikamaru stepped closer to Naruto and said in a quieter voice, "I am also aware the little detail you decided to leave out of your speech to the crowd there. I'm very surprised that most of the village hasn't noticed it." Instantly knowing Shikamaru was talking about him being the Yandame's son, Naruto looks dead serious and says, "I would appreciate if you kept that to yourself, Shika. Not many people know the whole truth, and I don't want it revealed to the public quite yet." Nodding, "I understand. I'll keep it to myself." Smiling slightly, Naruto thanks Shikamaru and then turns to Shino who had been listening. "Did you know already, as well, Shino?" Nodding, "I did. I am also aware of the fact Narasan was referring to. Knowing this can be bad if the fact he was the Yandame's son was known by too many people," Naruto asks, "Do you know if anyone else is aware I'm his son? I can't let that fact be known by too many people. The risk of someone revealing that little detail before I'm ready could have big repercussions on the village. The fact you two already know is bad enough." Shaking his head, Shino says, "I do not think anyone else in our group knows this. I only found out after I decided to confront my two-san with my suspicions." Sighing in relief, Naruto says, "That's good. I suppose we should watch the rest of the tournament now." Looking at both of them, Naruto asks, "Have you been informed about the big event happening later?" Seeing them both nod, Naruto decides to give some advice. "I would recommend you conserve your strength during your matches. We are going to be in the fight of our lives soon. You will need all the energy you can get." Hearing his and Kankuro's names called, Shino says, "I will follow your advice. It is time for my own match. I must go." Walking up to Shino, Kankuro says, "Let's give them a good show. We need to make the match believable, but not seriously hurt each other in the process. We don't know when the signal to start the invasion will come." "I agree. It would not do if we are seriously injured when the battle starts. Let us go." Seeing them depart, Naruto, deciding he needs to talk to Gaara as he has been staring at him for the past few minutes, asks Shikamaru and Temari to leave the room so they can talk alone. Shikamaru mutters something about troublesome blondes and their secret meetings and leaves. Temari, however, does not move and looks at Naruto with suspicion. Seeing this, Naruto reassures Temari, "I'm not trying to hurt him. I just want to talk to him and I don't want any eavesdroppers. Do you think I would jeopardize the alliance by attacking the son of the Yandame Kazekage?" Still suspicious, but nodding, Temari leaves as well. Turning to Gaara, he walks over before a wall of sand blocks his way. Holding his hands up, Naruto says, "Calm yourself, Gaara. I'm not going to hurt you. Kyuubi wishes to speak to the Ichibi. I'm going to touch your forehead and bring you and Shikaku into my mindscape so we can all speak face to face. Do you object to this?" The sand wavers slightly before dissipating. Gazing at Naruto with a dark look on his face, Gaara says, "I will kill you if you try anything." Nodding, Naruto steps directly in front of Gaara and slowly brings two fingers up and touches Gaara on the forehead. Closing his eyes, Naruto feels for the Shikaku and Gaara's presence and brings them into his mind. In Naruto's mindscape, appearing on top of Kyuubi's head and Gaara on Shikaku's, Kyuubi decides to speak. "It has been some time since I've seen you, Shikaku." The giant sand tanuki, raccoon, looking very out of place in the grassy meadow, snaps out, "Just what do you want, Kurama? I'm eager to feel the blood soaking in my sand." Surprised, Naruto looks down and asks, "Your name is Kurama?" "Yes, it is. The number of our tales is just a title. I was wondering when you were going to ask about it." "Oh, I suppose that makes sense. Sorry for interrupting." Turning his gaze back to Shikaku, the now revealed Kurama says, I want you to stop tormenting your jailer. That being the last thing Shikaku was expecting to hear, he forgot to try and look menacing and simply asked, why should I do that? Looking disappointed at Shikaku's attitude, Kurama says, have you forgotten your purpose, Shikaku? You know of the task our creator left us, yet you simply run rampant across the sands, leaving destruction and chaos in your wake. Looking angry, that's because the humans sealed me in that accursed teapot for a few hundred years. Then, when I finally break free, I'm sealed in some lowly human child, taking my freedom away yet again. I've been sealed away much longer than you have, Kurama, and honestly I'm tired of it. I want to be free again. Kyubi shakes its head slightly. You must let go of the past, Shikaku. If you did, you would realize that even if you break free, you would simply be captured and sealed again. Instead of fighting this, adapt and work with your jailer, and you will find life is more bearable than you would expect. I am given plenty of freedom. I have free reign of the Kit's mindscape, and I've also signed a contract with him that allows me to be summoned in the outside world. You could have this too if you only stopped fighting. Looking fairly contemplative, Shikaku looks at the red-headed boy on his head in curiosity and asks, you have been listening, Gaara. If I do what Kurama is asking, would you grant me the same measure of freedom? Gaara, who had indeed been listening, was very confused at this turn of events, and it showed on his face. Naruto, seeing this, decides to speak on Shikaku's behalf. I would do it, Gaara. Contrary to popular belief, the Biju are not simply monsters who cause needless destruction and deserve to be sealed away. While the rest of the world may not realize this, we, the Jinchuriki, can. I knew that Kurama attacked our village, but I also knew he was controlled when he did and was a victim in all of this. I knew I could not free him, as that would kill us both, but I tried to make life being sealed as bearable as I could. I think you should do the same. Shikaku, who was listening to Naruto's speech, was surprised at his attitude towards him and his brethren. This human is different than the others. He does not see us as monsters like everyone else. He respects us. His aura actually feels similar to the one of our creator. Very interesting. His musings were interrupted as Gaara, finally convinced, nods his head and says, I am willing to work with Shikaku. I would like to have my mind at peace for once in my life. If granting Shikaku a measure of freedom is required for that, I am willing to do it. Kurama nods his head and says, a wise decision, young one. I trust you will keep your end of the bargain, Shikaku. Nodding, Shikaku responds, I will honor our agreement. In exchange for a measure of freedom in Gaara's mindscape and occasional summons outside of the seal, I will stop tormenting the boy and allow him peace. I will stop my whispering in his mind and allow him to sleep without consequence. Standing up and bowing in Shikaku's direction, Naruto says, I thank you for listening to us. I know you were distrusting of me since Gaara and I met. I appreciate being allowed to do this for you. I will now return us to the outside world. Before fading away, Shikaku decides to remark, you are an interesting human indeed, Uzumaki Naruto. For the first time of my existence, I am pleased to have met a human. Shikaku and Gaara then fade out. Jumping down off of Kurama, Naruto bows. Thank you for this, Kurama. Looking down at his jailer, Kurama says, it needed to be done. Shikaku was always the most stubborn of us, sometimes needed a firm hand to set him straight. I just wish the rest of the world could understand us as well as you do, Kit. Nodding in understanding. It is a shame, really. There is so much we could learn from you all. Unfortunately, Jinchuriki and their Biju counterparts face much prejudice and discrimination in the world. I want to change that someday, but it's things like this that make me realize how truly daunting that task would be. Laying down, Kurama says, for what it is worth, Kit, I hope you succeed. Now it is time for you to return. Much time has passed in the real world, and the others are starting to get worried. Nodding, Naruto says goodbye and leaves the mindscape. Back in the real world. Opening his eyes to Shikamaru poking him lightly, he hears, Oi, Naruto. Wake up already. You're missing the matches. Shaking off the minor disorientation and looking around, Naruto asks, sorry about that. There was something I had to take care of. What have I missed? Sighing, Shikamaru says, It's troublesome, but you've missed mine and Shino's matches. That puppet guy, Kankuro, won against Shino, and they are both in the med bay. Kankuro had minor chakra exhaustion from Shino's insects, and Shino got hit with some Sunban coated in a paralyzing agent and is waiting for the effects to wear off. I won against Temari after trapping her with my shadow, and she decided to check on you too before leaving to meet up with her sensei. Gaara woke up from whatever trance you two were in as they called Gaara's and Sasuke's match and left for the arena. Looking over the railing, Naruto sees Gaara but Sasuke. Curious, he asks, "Hey Shika, where's the team at? He still not show up?" Shaking his head, Shikamaru replied, "No, he hasn't shown. It looks like the crowd is starting to get restless though." In the Kage booth, motioning his Gunma over, the Hokage tells him, "Inform the proctor that Uchiha Sasuke is disqualified due to lateness." The Kazekage hears this as his mouth twists in a snarl behind the veil, but calms himself and decides to ask the Hokage, "Can we not give him 5 more minutes to arrive? I am eager to see my son test his skills against the last loyal Uchiha." Looking at the Kazekage before shaking his head, the Hokage replies, "I am sorry, Kazekage-dano, but I cannot allow any favoritism towards my ninjas, last Uchiha or not. Following the orders of a superior is part of being a Chunin. By not showing up on time, young Sasuke is showing he thinks himself above the rules. I cannot allow it. He can try again in 6 months at the next series of exams." The Kazekage then suggests, then perhaps a compromise is in order. Since many of the visiting nobility came here specifically to see the Uchiha's match, how about disqualifying him and deny him his chance of promotion for these exams, but allow him to fight in a sort of exhibition match at the end of the tournament against the tournament winner? That would allow the crowd to see the Uchiha fight, but still punish him for his disregard of the rules. Considering it for a minute, the Hokage nods and says, "Very well, Kazekage-dano. That is an acceptable arrangement." Turning to Gunma again, inform the proctor of this decision. Bowing, Gunma shunsins down to the arena to relay the Hokage's orders. In the arena, Anko nods, "Hi, I understand. I'll inform the crowd." Turning to the crowd as Gunma shunsins back to the Kage booth, she announces the decision. Due to not showing up in time for his match, Uchiha Sasuke has been disqualified from the matchups. However, the Hokage has allowed an exhibition match between the winner of the tournament and Uchiha Sasuke in order to satisfy the visiting nobility. However, he will not be given the chance for promotion to Chunin. So, winner by disqualification, Sabaku no Gaara. With the audience, the civilian crowd was making its displeasure at the Hokage's decision known. The civilian council was especially vocal. The ninja side, minus one pink-haired banshee who was currently screeching hey, they could not do that to her precious Sasuke-kun, on the other hand, understood the logic in the decision and was instead grumbling about the insubordination the Uchiha was showing. With Naruto and Shikamaru. Grumbling, Naruto is saying, figures the team gets special treatment. At least he's not getting promoted. But someone still has to fight him when he is fresh and ready to go, while the rest of us have been fighting all day. It's completely unfair. Nodding in agreement, Shikamaru says, "It is unfair, but everyone came to see the last Uchiha fight in the exams. There would be too many political ramifications if you were not allowed to fight. What a troublesome situation." Back in the arena, we will now start the semi-final matchups. The first match is Aburame Shino versus Sabaku no Gaara. Will Aburame Shino dash? A swirl of leaves interrupts Anko as 2 people appear in the arena. The shorter is a teenager with black hair shaped like duck's ass, wearing a black, one-piece jumpsuit with a high collar, the Uchiha fan emblazoned on the back, and an arrogant smirk on his face. The taller of the two, with gravity-defying silver hair, his one visible eye curved up in what could only be called an eye smile, mask covering most of his face, and wearing the typical uniform of a Konoha Jonin. Uchiha Sasuke and Hatake Kakashi have arrived at the arena. Raising the hand, not holding his Aiko, Kakashi sheepishly scratches the back of his head and asks, we aren't late, are we?" A smirk on her face, Anko responds, "Yes, you are. Too late, actually." Visible eye widening, Kakashi asks, You mean Sasuke got disqualified? Said Uchiha's smirk vanishes and an enraged look appears as Anko answers with a cheerful, "Yep." Fuming in rage, Sasuke shouts out, "What? You can't disqualify me. I'm an Uchiha. You should be bowing at my feet for deciding to grace you with my presence, you snake whore." Narrowing her eyes at the arrogant Uchiha, Anko says in a deadly tone, "You better watch your words, you arrogant prick, or you might just lose the one chance to fight that the Hokage decided to allow you. Political ramifications be damned. You were ordered to appear this morning with the rest of the contestants, and you did not. You're lucky we did not disqualify you then and there, deciding to wait for your match to start before making the final decision." Quickly interjecting before his student can say something to cause further embarrassment, Kakashi asks, "So Sasuke can still fight?" Frowning, but nodding slightly, Anko replies, "Hi." Hokage-sama decided to let the Uchiha fight in an exhibition match with the winner of the tournament, though he has no chance of promotion due to his blatant disregard of the rules. Kakashi is unable to respond before Sasuke, still shouting in an enraged tone, "I don't give damn about this tournament. It's only filled with a bunch of weaklings that are not worth to lick the dirt off my shoes. I'm an Uchiha. That old fool of a Hokage should just go off and die somewhere. I should just be given the promotion to Chunin, no Jonin, instead of wasting my time pandering to these simpering dash." Sasuke's response is cut off as Kakashi covers his mouth before he can make things any worse. Things were already getting bad. The collective killer intent of most everyone in the stadium is leveled on him because of the sheer arrogance he displays, as well as blatantly insulting the Hokage, and Anko was being restrained by two ENBU due to trying to attack Sasuke as soon as he called the Hokage an old fool. One of the ENBU, turning to Kakashi, says in a disgusted tone, "Kakashi-senpai, I would recommend you taking your student and leave to the stands to watch the tournament quietly." I smiling again, "Good idea, Eagle-san. I'll take him now." Turning to address Sasuke, Eagle says in deadly tone, "And you, Uchiha, should take Mitarashi-san's advice and watch your mouth. Your words could be considered treason. If you don't want to be taken into custody on insubordination charges, I would you very quietly go with your sensei and wait for your fight. Now, do we understand each other?" Shrugging off the killer intent, Sasuke turns his back on the ANBU with HN and says in a demanding voice, "Kakashi-san, take me to the stands. I will wait for my match up there. Now." With a sigh, Kakashi grabs Sasuke's shoulder and they disappear in a swirl of leaves. The ENBU let go of Anko and disappear as well. Shaking herself off, Anko announces, "Sorry about the interruption of the arrogant bastard dash." Sakura screeches out from somewhere in the crowd, "He's not a bastard, you snake whore. Take it back. How dare you disrespect my Sasuke-kun like that?" Tick mark throbbing on her head, Anko shouts out, "Will someone please shut her up? I'm tired of being interrupted." With Sakura. We currently find Sakura sitting alone because nobody wanted to be near when she started screeching, frozen in fear as a hail of jutsu, throwing weapons, glass bottles, a few forks, many bowls, a rubber chicken, dog poop, fresh fruit, and many other strange things impact the area around Sakura, leaving her with swirly eyes, limbs slightly twitching, and steam rising in the area around her. Back at the arena. "Anko, thank you, that is much better. I gotta ask though, who threw the rubber chicken and all that other weird stuff?" A loud voice belonging to Naruto shouts, "That was me. All that stuff was from the pranking kit I keep on my person at all time." "You keep a pranking, never mind. I don't think I want to know. Back to business. Will Aburame Shino please dash?" Anko is interrupted yet again and deciding she has had enough, throws some kunai at the Mednin who appeared and pins him to the wall in mid-stride. Walking over, spinning a kunai on her finger, she goes to talk to the Mednin. Upon hearing what he had to say, she nods and frees the Mednin. He proceeds to scrambles off as fast he can while Anko announces, "It appears Aburame Shino is still suffering the effects of his previous match and is unable to compete. So winner by forfeit and advancing to the final round, Sabaku no Gara. Will Uzumaki Naruto and Nara Shikamaru report to the arena for the second match of the semifinals?" Gara grumbling about not getting to fight, disappears in a whirlwind of sand as Naruto and Shikamaru make their way to the center of the arena. Raising her hand and slashing it down, Anko announces, "This match will determine who moves on to the final round to face Sabaku no Gaara in the final round. Uzumaki Naruto versus Nara Shikamaru. Hajime," and jumps back out of harm's way. Naruto versus Shikamaru. Naruto is currently in a taijutsu stance waiting for Shikamaru to make the first move. However, Shikamaru yawns out and says, "So troublesome. I don't really want to fight. I'd rather just go watch the clouds." Looking slightly confused, Naruto moves out of his stance and asks, "Then why don't you quit? No one is making you fight." A pause, then Shikamaru shrugs and says, "Fine, I forfeit," and walks away to the stands. Most of the stadium immediately face faults. With a sweat drop, Naruto says in disbelief, "I wasn't really serious. I didn't think he'd do it." Also with a sweat drop, Anko announces, "That was anticlimactic, but okay. Winner by forfeit, Uzumaki Naruto." There were no cheers or boos, just stunned disbelief and wondering if a person could really be that lazy. With Shikamaru in the stands. We find the lazy Genin sitting in the stands next to his teammates, with a certain troublesome blonde girl berating him quite loudly while the other just kept on eating his chips. "Damn it, Shika. Why did you do that? You just gave up without a fight. I know you're lazy, but what gives?" Shikamaru sighs and lazily replies, "In case you didn't notice, troublesome blonde, when I raised my hand to cover my yawn, I discreetly made the hand sign for my Kagemain no Jutsu, shadow possession technique, behind my back and trapped Naruto in my shadow. However, he was still able to move out of his taijutsu stance. I knew I could not win if my jutsu would not work on him, so I forfeit the match. I don't think he even noticed what happened. He must have a lot of physical strength to be able to overpower my jutsu and not even notice. So troublesome." Slightly stunned at the apparent dobe being to overpower their teammates' jutsu, Ino just sat in silence while staring at Naruto. Choji, well, he just kept on eating his chips. Down in the arena. Having appeared in the arena as soon as the previous match was over, Gaara and Naruto started staring at each other with feral smiles, their blood being stirred and screaming at them to prove who is the best. Sand started swirling around Gaara's feet, while blue flames were doing the same with Naruto. Anko, feeling the rising tension between the two ready to explode, quickly announces the start of the match. Final match. Uzumaki Naruto versus Sabaku no Gaara. Hajime. In the Kage booth. The Kazekage and Hokage are eagerly watching this. It is the Kazekage, however, who comments, "A battle between Jinchuriki. That is rarely seen outside of wartime. This match will be very exciting." The Hokage simply nods and thinks, "For once I agree with you, Snakeface. Be careful, Naruto." Naruto versus Gaara. Gaara, looking eagerly at Naruto, says, "I've been waiting for this battle. Do not hold back, Uzumaki Naruto, for I will not. Let us see who is the better Jinchuriki, and may the best win." Naruto, while deactivating his weights and resistance seal, responds just as eagerly, "All right, no more holding back. I'm coming at you with everything I have." Channeling his Kitsune Bai, Foxfire covers Naruto's hands as he drops into the opening stance of the Kitsune Taijutsu style. Letting out a feral growl, Naruto vanishes and reappears to the left of Gaara with a fierce swipe aimed at his shoulder that Gaara's sand tries to block, but due to the heat coming from the flames, instantly turns to glass and shatters. While having the effect of lessening the force of the blow, still sent Gaara back a few feet. Eyes widening at his sand's apparent inability to stop his blows, Gaara jumps back and decides to go on the offensive. Flinging his arm in Naruto's direction, Gaara cries out, "Suna Shuriken," quickly creating a Kage Bunshin and substituting himself with it. Naruto narrowly avoids getting hit as the area where he just vacated is destroyed. Seeing this, Gaara quickly directs his sand to try and catch Naruto, who puts on a burst of speed and moves all around the arena as he dodges the attempts to catch him. Still being chased by the sand, Naruto releases a quick futon. Daitapa, wind release, great breakthrough. Behind him, managing to blast the sand away from him. Capitalizing on the opportunity, Naruto quickly moves inside Gaara's defense and lands a heavy blow to his stomach that sends the redhead flying and cracking his sand armor. Frustrated at his lack of ability to land a decent blow on Naruto, Gaara gathers all the sand he can, forming a cloud all around him, and calls Futon, Mugen Sajin, Daitapa, Wind Release, Infinite Sand Cloud, Great Breakthrough, and releases it in all directions in massive wave that engulfs the arena in a huge sandstorm. When it clears, however, Naruto is nowhere to be found. Concerned, Gaara looks all around in an attempt to locate him before he hears from below, "Gotcha." Having used the Doton, Mogurigakur no Jutsu, Earth Release, hiding like a mole, to escape, Naruto appears from below Gaara and lands a Kitsunbai-fueled blow right to Gaara's jaw, causing him to fly back and land in the middle of the arena. His face cracking, Gaara compliments the blonde, saying, "Impressive Uzumaki. If not for my sand armor, that blow might have finished me." Getting an idea, Naruto smirks and says, "I'm not done yet. Let's see you get away from this." He then creates a large amount of clones who then throw shuriken from all directions at Gaara, causing him to form a dome of sand in order to protect himself. Seeing the dome, Naruto smirks and thinks, "Perfect." Creating a Kage Bunshin who starts flying through one series of hand signs while Naruto does another. The clone calls out Futon, Atsugai, Wind Release, Pressure Damage, while Naruto calls Kitsunbai, Gokakyu no Jutsu, Foxfire Grand Fireball. Combining the two techniques and forming the collaboration jutsu, Naruto calls out Futon Kitsunbai Collaboration, Kikyubi no Guan, Wind Release Foxfire Collaboration, Kyubi's Roar. The Kyubi-shaped being made of foxfire lets out a mighty roar while flying forward and consuming the sand dome in a mighty explosion, throwing dust up and obscuring everyone's vision, leaving the entire arena stunned by what they just saw. In the audience, "That was amazing. Such a powerful technique. What is that blue fire? It's much stronger than normal fire." With Sasuke, "Blue fire? Where did the dobe learn this? All of that power should belong to me. And why can't I copy it?" Seething in rage with his Sharingan activated, Sasuke is watching the battle that is clearly out of his league and is angry. Angry and jealous. "That power should be mine, not in the hands of some dope. I needed to kill Itachi." With various classmates and their sensei, Asuma's cigarette fell from his mouth at the display of the previous technique. "Asuma-sensei, what was that? How was Naruto able to do that? This kid, he's showing skills that most Chunin don't have. Maybe not some Jonin. Just how strong are you, Naruto?" "Naruto-kun is very strong, Kurenai-sensei. That he is Hinata. I knew his appearance had changed, but for his skills to skyrocket like this is nothing short of incredible. He's fighting at a level most Jonin use." Back in the arena, when the smoke clears, we see a panting Naruto surrounded by glass field, with a glass dome in the middle of the arena. "Whoa, I knew that was strong, but it changed the whole field to glass. Wait." Gaara. Naruto rushes over to the dome and, not seeing any way in, reaches for the sword across his back. Channeling as much wine chakra he can, he slices the dome open, revealing a deeply gasping Gaara, covered in burns due to basically being cooked alive. Reaching in and picking Gaara up and setting him down on the glass-plated ground. Turning to call for the medics, Naruto feels his arm being grabbed. Looking back to Gaara, he hears him say, "That was a good fight. You win." Gaara then succumbs to unconsciousness. Seeing this, Anko calls out, "Shausa, Uzumaki Naruto." The victor of the Chunin exam tournament is Uzumaki Naruto. Looking around at field, she then turns to the crowd and says, "Due to the condition of the field, we will take a 1-hour intermission to restore the field before the exhibition match." Turning to Naruto, she says, "Get your strength back quick, Gaki. You might need it." Locking eyes with Sasuke, who is currently smirking at him, he says, "I was born ready to kick that arrogant team's ego down a few pegs. I really look forward to it." Turning away, Naruto decides to grab a bed in the hospital wing to rest and recover before his match.